Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Pork and Bean Show, starring Pork Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, Frank Oliver Baines. Sit back, relax, and stay a while as we stretch your imagination to places unknown and explore the mysterious world of the Sasquatch people and much more.
They say I need some Rogaine to put in my hair. Work it out at the gym to fit my underwear. Oakley makes the shades a transformer tool. You'd hate for the kids to think that you lost your cool. I'ma do the things that I wanna do. I ain't got a thing to prove to you. I leave my candy with the pork and beans. Excuse my manners if I make a scene. I ain't gonna wear the clothes that you like. I'm fine and dandy with the meal inside. One look in the mirror and I'll take the pick. I don't give a hoot about what you think. Everyone likes to dance to a happy song with a catchy chorus and beat so they can sing along. Timberland knows the way to reach the top of the chart. Maybe if I work with him, I can perfect the art. I'ma do the things that I wanna do. I ain't got a thing to prove to you. I leave my candy with the pork and beans. Excuse my manners if I make a scene. I ain't gonna wear the clothes that you like. I'm fine and dandy with the meal inside. One look in the mirror and I'll take the pick. I don't give a hoot about what
How are you guys doing today?
Are you talking?
Okay, now you can talk, Kevin. Now you can talk. Once I start talking and asking you something, then you can talk. We're on live now.
You usually do your intro, right?
Well, yeah, but Mr. Beans is, well, maybe
Yeah.
I'll
I know Frank
Maybe I'll
Oliver Beans is not here. The world's
well,
handsome.
maybe I'll put you in there just in case he doesn't show up.
Yeah, okay.
Have you heard my intro before, Angelique? I'm sorry, it's kind of corny. You
It's
never heard it?
haven't.
It's
I want to hear it.
100% corny.
Are you saying you haven't watched our show?
I have, but I've usually tuned in while I'm working, and so half the time I can't concentrate.
Okay, well, you didn't miss much, I guess, as far. Hey, everybody, my name is Port Cunningham, and I'm here with my distinguished co-host, sub-co-host, Mr. Beef Wellington, and we got an SOS, all alerts bulletin note for Mr. Bean, so he might show up in a bit. And this is the Pork and Bean Show. How is everybody today? And of course, we're joined by Angelique Benham and Cindy Ann Buono Goodbrake, if she ever makes it on, I guess. Maybe I should check and see if she's trying to message me again. So, how you doing, Angelique?
Good. Doing great. How are you?
Very good. Very good. And so we were talking a little bit pre-show, and you ladies are from Idaho.
Yes. Yes. We're from the northern panhandle of Idaho. Cindy's over by Blanchard, and I'm in Coeur d'Alene.
You guys are famous for potatoes, right?
Something like that. Potatoes, moose, elk.
Are you guys up by the Priest River?
Yes, it's about an hour from here, probably.
Beautiful.
Well,
Yes,
the pressure's on you now, Beef, because I'm going to try and see if I can see what's going on with Cindy. So say something and try to say something intelligent.
See, that's a tough sell there, Brian.
I know it's hard for you. Give it a try.
See, you put me on the spot, and now I'm going to freeze up. So how long have you guys been doing it?
Oh goodness. Well, as a research team or as experiencers, because that's two different things.
Right, exactly. As experiencers, because I know that I don't actually consider myself a researcher because I really don't want to be. I'm an experiencer. I love having the relationship with my clan. I don't really want any more. I'm not trying to prove to anybody what they are or who they are, or even that they
Exactly.
Like I value what they have with me, and I'll tell people about them as much as they want me to.
Thank you.
Other than that,
Thank you.
no.
I really agree with you, and I thank you, because that's exactly the way that I believe, because I actually started out as an experiencer, went to a researcher, and realized through my research that I was building a relationship, and now it is.
Exactly.
It is a relationship. It's not research anymore. Now it's communication and research.
Exactly.
Or not research, a communication and a relationship. And it's actually very it's a personal thing, and it's very beautiful. Yes.
It is very beautiful, very personal.
Yes, it is.
So,
thank you.
And I'm going to ask Cindy, or Brian's going to ask Cindy the same thing. But what was your first experience? What was your first aha moment that, oh my gosh, this is Sasquatch, right?
Well, mine started 20 years ago. I had a very close encounter with a large forest man, and I'm going to refer to him as a forest man.
Exactly.
Hi, Cindy. And I was kayaking on Sullivan Lake, and I happened to come very close to him, close enough that I could see his eye color, and realized that I was looking at a man and had absolutely no idea that I was looking at a forest man. I thought it was a very large man with maybe hypertrichosis and a nudist. So it was a very interesting encounter, although I have to be very direct with you. I did not see anything genitalia wise, but as soon as I realized that he was naked, I was not looking. It was like, uh-oh. So
hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's when it began with me. What started it was that I had no clue of who it was I was looking at, and I was interested more in the skin disorder. And I was looking online trying to research the skin disorder, and ended up getting a phone call from someone who wanted to talk to me about the Sasquatch that I saw at Sullivan Lake. Well, it came from a caller ID box said U.S. government. And because I have a brother who works in the U.S. government, I thought that it had something to do with him. So when I picked up the phone, this gentleman told me who he was and what department he worked in, but it's been over 20 years and I do not remember what that was or who he was. And he said he wanted to talk to me about the Sasquatch. Well,
Wow.
After I have no clue what he wanted to talk to me about, because I'm gonna get real with you. I got freaked out and I hung up because at first I said, I didn't see a Sasquatch. I saw a big guy with hair all over his body. And the guy kind of gave me a bit of a come on. He didn't say that, but he said, I want to talk to you about the Sasquatch that you saw at Sullivan Lake. Right. Well, when he said it the second time, it solidified it for me. And I freaked out and hung up on him. So it was me losing it for a moment. And I kind of regret it because now I'm curious as to what it was this man wanted to talk to me about.
Right.
But I didn't talk to him. And so after that, my son at that time had come in from school and I told him what happened. And he said, Mom, there's this new website at school that the guys are talking about. You should check it out. And of course, you know what website that is. And I don't know if you want me to give the affiliation, but it was the popular one.
Is it BFRO?
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. Okay.
That we don't necessarily adhere to what they're doing. They're not honest, but everyone knows they exist.
Okay, but I will say one thing. The man, I went ahead and filled it out, the form, and it was like a template kind of thing. And then I did get a phone call from a man that was there to verify what it was that I had seen. And he vetted me for probably 3 hours and just made me tell the story over and over and over again. Well, as it turned out, he was the one that told me, yes, he did, in fact, see a Sasquatch. And to this day, that man, it happens to be a very good friend of mine.
Awesome.
And he has left the BFRO and now has, like you and myself, has more of a relationship with a clan rather than working for an affiliate. And so he's been my mentor for many years. And whenever I have a question, I contact him and he's right there to answer and help me. And he's been just a great friend. So,
very cool.
That's mine. So
can you said you were so close that you saw him. Hi, Cindy. How you doing? We'll get to you in a second. So you were so close that you saw this, I guess it was a gentleman. We'll call him this gentleman's eye color. Can you describe his face and how long were you looking at him?
Well, it started from a distance. I thought he was a grandfather who was following his grandchildren and watching his grandchildren play at his feet at the water's edge while I was clear at a beach opposite shore of this. It was in an inlet and there was a rope swing on one end. And looking across this inlet, he had walked down and sat down on a stump, crossed his leg over the top of the other one and sat and had a very parental, just his whole body language was very watchful and protective of the children. Now, the children were 100% somebody's kids. They were wearing, like, one boy had a pair of red basketball shorts on. They were probably 8 years old, 8, maybe 9 at the most. They were little kids. And he was watching them just like a grandfather would. And I thought that's who he was, because from a distance, he had what looked like gray hair. And it was a very hot day. It was probably in the 90s, and it looked like he was wearing a full-on, like a turtleneck, long sleeves, long pants. And I thought, well, the only people I know that would wear something that covering on a super hot day with gray hair would probably be an elderly person. So as I got closer to him, the little boys left, and I don't think they, to this day, I do not know if they knew he was there. They were busy throwing stones and drawing, in the mud and doing what little boys do, around the water's edge. So to this day, I don't know if they saw him or not, but he was definitely watching them with a very protective kind of, his whole everything just showed that he was watching out for them. And as I got close enough to him, I was cruising very slow in my kayak, and I was very close to the edge of the shore because I didn't have my life vest with me, and I'm not a good swimmer, so I wanted to stay just offshore in case something happened. And as I came up on him, I looked over at him and realized he wasn't this elderly grandpa. He was actually maybe in his, what looked to me like his early 40s. And he was actually a very handsome man. He had a very strong, square jaw. He had a narrow nose. He had full lips. High cheekbones, and his eyes were just absolutely just a very beautiful kind of a light golden brown. And they just were very beautiful. They had like a black ring around the outside of the iris that just kind of really, it was just really striking. And I took a double take because he was a good-looking guy. But when I took, but when
it sounds like me without the hair. No, I'm just joking.
No comment. I plead the fifth. But I took a double take, and when I took a double take, that's when I realized he wasn't wearing a turtleneck, and he had hair that covered his whole body. And he shifted, and when he shifted for just a brief moment, I saw a nipple, or both of his nipples. I think it was just one, but I realized then that he was naked, and that was when I kind of went, uh-oh, and just kept going. So I did look back once over my shoulder, and he had stood up, and when he had stood up, he had turned sideways, and he reached up with his arm and he pulled a branch out of his face. And when he did, I mean, this man had, his shoulders had to have been 4 feet across. And, and he had, my dad was 6'6". So I compare him to my dad, and he was probably 2 feet taller than my dad, and absolutely the most perfectly proportionate man I've ever seen in my life. And it was absolutely amazing. Well, the rest of the day, as I kayaked, I took the full rest of the day to get home, or to get back to the other shore. And as I did, I came up on one of the people that were with me kayaking, which was my sister-in-law at the time. And she looks up clear up at the summit of the mountain that ran the length of the lake. And she said, "Oh, look, there's a hunter up there." And I looked to the summit, and there he was. He was walking the summit and looking down, and he'd take a few steps and he'd look down. And the rest of the day, clear until the trees ran out, he was walking beside me. And that is not an easy mountain to climb. There aren't a lot of people that go up that one. That is a very, very rough terrain up there in this Sullivan Range. It's where they used to feed the bighorn sheep. So you can imagine what the terrain is like. It's not easy. And he was just followed right alongside me for the rest of the day.
So did you make eye contact?
Absolutely. Yes.
Did you? Okay. the only time I've made eye contact, I felt a zing. Did you feel any sort of an energy thing go along?
Well, I might have, just because you were so good looking. Forgive me, but I might have. No,
Lord have mercy.
But I will say, though, I mean, I will be absolutely honest with you. Yes, there was some, looking back even now, and since I've had more encounters with other of these forest people, yes, I understand exactly what you mean. There is almost like an immediate, like almost a spiritual connection where you kind of, it's a knowing almost. It's a very, I want to say, an ancient knowing, like we're going back to an ancient something that we can't physically remember, but yet our DNA does. Do you know do you understand?
I do. Actually, I do.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So did you, that was a profound experience, and obviously not, I don't think it was a coincidence. I'm sure you probably think the same. It was kind of like an introduction, but did you look at them from from the connection relationship kind of aspect that you're at now, right from the beginning, or did you go through the kind of like the investigator kind of thing?
Oh, yeah. Well, for the longest time, I didn't do anything. I thought it was a once in a lifetime thing and it would never happen again. And then I started having more and more encounters, and not as much, not as big. I have not had one that long ever since then. What I was getting was literally like one would be out in a field and I would look over and they would be standing, or one would be in my yard and, flicking. I mean, from then on, they were very brief, very quick encounters that thankfully most of the time from then on, I had other people with me. So I at first kind of went, am I losing it? Am I getting crazy here? I'm suddenly seeing a Sasquatch under every teacup, I mean, seriously, I questioned that. And so I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that if I did have an encounter, that it was vetted from then on. There was somebody with me. If they saw it, they would be confirming it and going, yeah, I did see this. I did see that person. And so after that, it happened after I was having more and more encounters. Then I got into the research. Then I got into the curiosity of wondering why would I have more and more encounters? Why would there be so many that I hadn't noticed before?
Right.
And then I got into the research. And then after I was in the research for a while, now it's kind of flipped and I've gone to more of a relationship. And that sounds terrible because it's not, we look at it through human eyes, but it's a connection, it's communication.
It is a relationship. It's totally a relationship.
Yes.
But the one thing that's different though is they will only let you, in my experience, they will only let you in on as much as you are ready to accept or understand.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've pushed me a couple of times and I've had to take a few weeks to process what they've done before I went back in the woods. I was like,
yes.
I need to think about that a little bit.
Yes. And
so
I think they will test you as well. They will test you, and I've had an encounter that was so terrifying that I went to counseling for it for a while because I was terrified. And then I went, what was that? Who was that? Why did that happen? Oh my gosh, and I did that for a very long time until I've reached a point in time where I realized maybe they were just checking to see how much grit I had.
Yeah, for sure. They've tested me a couple of times like that as well.
I want to get to Cindy, but I did want to ask you
well-
one thing. I did want to make one comment and one, maybe you can consider this. Kevin and I have both seen Sasquatch in many, well, I mean, I've seen them in many forms.
So have I.
Shape-shifting, you know, like raven,
Deer.
owl, deer. But one thing that Kevin and I have both seen them in the form of humans. So I'm wondering, looking back, do you think that those kids might have been Sasquatch children, really? Shape-shifted? Because we both, well, Kevin had an amazing experience where you saw an entire family that were in human form, and there's no question about it, because just of what transpired. So they're capable of that, and I've seen the same thing. So, did you ever consider that? Or,
I did. I did actually. I did. You know, for a while I thought, well, this is obviously his grandchildren. You know, that was my first impression. These are his grandchildren. The red shorts threw me. The red shorts and the other color that the other little boy had on kind of threw me, because they were obviously basketball shorts. So my question to you would be, was the family that you saw them, were they wearing full-on clothes?
well, Kevin unfortunately is doing house duties, so he's. But what I will say that the ones that I saw were wearing just regular clothes, but they weren't human. Especially one guy was doing stuff that was not, that a human was not capable of. So yeah, I mean, they can you know, they can give you any visual, audible, or sensory experience that they want to give you. And I'm sure you girls have probably realized that.
Very
so yeah,
interesting.
we've seen them. They can wear clothes and look human, but I mean, usually there's something a little bit off about them.
Wow.
You know,
So
the clothes look quite right, or their glasses will be like, you know, they don't, something doesn't quite look right. But if Kevin has time, did you want to? Well, that's a long story.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell the whole story because this is their time. But I do want to just jump on. Do you go by Angelique full name, or do you?
You can call me Angelique. Yeah, that's
Okay.
easy.
So
What do your friends call you, Angie?
Most of them just call me Angelique.
Okay. So
creative,
I just wanted to jump on and confirm that the Sasquatch family that I saw, they were very attractive people.
Mhm.
They were very solid. They were, and the ones I've seen since that were in Sasquatch form were also attractive. I mean, it was, they're, you know, I've seen pictures of ones that where I go, oh my gosh, but I don't know what it is about the clans in this area. And I'm sure up in your area and over in Brian's area, because we're not that far apart as far as Sasquatch world goes. They're actually not these heinous monsters that people want to make them out to be. I just want to jump on that and say it's amazing.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. You're right. They're not. There are people.
They are fully a people.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, you know, I interviewed Kevin on his experience in another show. If anybody wants to hear the whole thing, but it was incredible. And there's no question that what he saw was a Sasquatch family. One was even a dog.
Yeah.
A dog, a little a toddler, and a female and a male. And it was.
And they were married. They
incredible story.
They actually are a couple in real life. I mean, they weren't masquerading as a couple. This was a man and wife, and I'd been interacting with the wife quite a bit. And the husband actually, even today, is still not too fond of me. So we just go with that.
Yeah, the husband growled at him actually.
And huffed.
Yeah. Well, he's got to protect his family.
He does.
You know, he's protecting his family.
And he had every reason to do it. He should have done it. So I hold nothing against him. I've actually gone and apologized to him several times. So
we're having some audio problems. Are you guys hearing it?
Someone's not.
You guys are breaking right up. No.
So if you got us up on Facebook as well as on Zoom, it's going to echo.
Okay, let me get out of that. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, I'm not. It's not me.
Is it
What were you
me?
going to
Am
say?
I
What were you
echoing?
saying, Kevin? That might be better. What were you saying?
I don't remember.
Okay. Hey, Cindy, how you doing?
I'm fine. Can you all hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Did you want to
Yeah.
talk about how you, we kind of talked about how Angelique got into her first experience and how she was introduced to the Sasquatch, which I think that was obviously an introduction, just the way that individual was acting. So
Yes.
what happened? How did you get interested in this subject?
Well, when I was a little girl, I was probably 8. I don't know when I think when the Patty Gimlin film came out. Eventually, I saw it. I don't know exactly when, but I was a little kid, and it freaked me out because I just could not believe that something like that could exist. And I'm from Texas, so when I was a teenager and we, like if we ever got invited to go camping, I would never go. I've never liked the woods. And then later on in life, like in 1999, I started researching after going online. Can y'all hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, because I must be hearing things. In 98, I started going online and doing some research, and I found some groups. And then eventually I met up with some people that to this day, you don't see them at conferences, but they know more than some of those people that talk at the conferences. And they taught me how to track in the woods. This one guy, I'm going to give him credit. He's amazing. His name is Luke Gross. He's in Texas. He took me out first, and he taught me how to find the different animal tracks in the woods, like the basic stuff in Texas, which would be like bobcat, deer, mountain lion, fox, whatever. And we had a ranch. We still have that ranch in east of Dallas. What's a family place. And I started going out in the big thicket with another group of people. And at that time, I just did what they said because 2 of these guys grew up with them on their ranch. Have you heard of Coonbo and Bear?
Yep.
Yeah. I've
Okay,
heard Coonbo for sure.
Okay, so Bear goes by Jim King on Facebook, and some other people, but we had years of going out in the big thicket, the Sam Houston National Forest, and also I had horses, and I would take my horses out to southeast Oklahoma, Honobi. I never say it right. For like 5 years, and in that 5 years, I had a lot of encounters, and I had one that really, I've been chased on horseback. I mean, not like where it's behind me, but we were out in the Kiamichi Mountains riding, and I had to go back to camp to get my inhaler. And when I ran back to camp, these guys were at our campsite, and we've been going here for years. Okay, we've been going here for years. We have family in the area. I know other people that live there. I knew the people in the Honobia store. If I needed to know that I needed a permit to be there camping, I think I would have known. They asked to see my paperwork, and I thought they meant like the Coggins for the horses, and I was like, who are y'all? And they said, we're the park rangers, whatever. I was like, so I went and I got the paperwork and I showed them, and they said, no, your permit. I was like, my permit? And they said, yeah, you need a permit to be here. I was like, no, I don't. I've been coming here for a long time. And there's nothing posted anywhere around that says you need a permit. There's nothing posted anywhere. So by this time, I had been away from my family, which by this time they turned back around and they were coming back to camp because I didn't run back to meet them. So now I'm a little upset and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Like, what do y'all really want? And then my husband came up at that time and they had a conversation, basically the same thing. And my husband, he's a big guy. He's like 6'5". They wrote up citations for us. I couldn't believe it. There was like 6 of us. We all got a citation. So they left and then we had to pay our citations. And then when we went back, we tried to get a permit and we never got a permit. It was crazy. And then I went back maybe a couple more times. And then eventually I moved up to my property up here. But in those 5 or 6 years, 6 years of researching, it is nothing like Angelique's story. It is nothing like what y'all experienced. I had a really bad night, and so did some other people. This was at a place which is pretty famous now because of we had been researching there first. I believe we were like one of the first to research at this place called Boykin Springs, and there was like 13, maybe I'm not sure exactly how many, but we were just hanging out. You know, some of them would make calls. I mean, we didn't know any better. You know, all right, like I don't do that really now today. And I was frozen solid. I could not move. I saw my friend in front of me and she lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, it didn't hurt or nothing. I didn't feel anything. I just couldn't move. Like when you have sleep paralysis or something. And then I was released. And when I was released, it was very obvious because I like kind of fell to my knees, fell to the ground, whatever. And I remember somebody said, it's time to go. And then we loaded in our vehicles. And then when we were leaving, the road had been blocked. So after that, I didn't go back into the woods for a while. And then eventually my husband, who was active Army at the time, we got transferred up here to North Idaho, and we found this place where I'm at here. I'm only on like under 6 acres, but everything around us is wooded, except for my neighbor to the left over there. But I'm at the bottom of the mountain that we're going to talk about quite a bit, called Hoodoo Mountain. I mean, I'm close enough to the mountain. There's a power line not too far away, and there's a lot of state land. So in that time, after that happened, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't always find 5 tow trucks. I found like more of a mutant kind of species. And here's the funny thing. After living on this property for so long and having a lot of things happen here, which I've got a million crazy stories and I've got audios, but last winter I went back for the winter to Snowbird, and I did go back to Boykin Springs. That was on my bucket list, like, because I was terrified, but it was nothing. It was no big deal. Nothing really happened. I didn't have that same feeling like I did here. I just felt okay. And it's just not the same. I don't know. I know there's different types, but if I were to go down there right now and go back to Sam Houston National Forest, I'm going to have a different mindset. I'm not going to feel like I'm welcome there. I'm not going to feel like, they're just pissed off. They're just pissed off. That place is overrun. Oklahoma is overrun. Some areas, I don't know about Honobie. Well, they have a Bigfoot conference there now. But before anything became a circus show, I was in those crazy areas. Also, Brown Springs, Oklahoma is another area where I've been. And I also went last year. I did have some paranormal stuff. But what I ended up doing was I was apologizing and saying, I'm so sorry that this is, you're being attacked by so many people trying to come here and do documentaries, and I just didn't really feel anything else. I had no desire to stay there. I just, I had no desire to be there anymore. It was more of visiting friends at that point. So up here, it's a completely different story. So when I moved up here, I had the mindset of only flesh and blood. I was not open. I was not ready to learn anything else. I didn't have an encounter like Angelique did. My encounters when I moved up here were just a lot of chasing me out of areas, on my horse, or in a group of people, or I would hear them do the typical, I've heard them, they sound like a T-Rex. I have an audio, it's an old audio. I don't even know where it's at. It's from 2002. It sounds like a T-Rex, and it sounds like Jurassic Park in the backwoods. So here on my property, my husband came up here first to find this homestead, and I told him, I do not want a house in the woods. I don't care. I don't want to live in the woods. And I was actually was not going to, I was done. But the first thing I noticed when we pulled up was a lot of structures. Nobody had been on this property for years because one man owned all of this property here, and there was some homes out here, but not like they've built a lot more. But still, we're still remote. We're still, not like compared to down there. So the first couple of years, I saw things in the woods. I heard things. My horses had been messed with. Feed bags were missing. My kids were, hearing things in the woods. And then it was later on that some things were happening that I decided to start trying to get some of these audios. So around 2017 is when I started really opening up, and that's a long time from 2004 to 2017. But me and Angelique met because she lived on the other side of Hoodoo Mountain, and I live on this side. And she had encounters over there, and I had audios that I would play for her, and we just worked together. Not like, every day, but we would just call each other and compare notes. And I would say, oh my God, this happened. And then she would call me and she would say, did you hear those noises? Even though she's on the other side of the mountain, if they're active over there, they might be active over here. So that is how I got started into crossing over, into knowing that there is more, because their behaviors up here were so much different. Like, I never got rocks on my porch in Texas. Up here, I did. I was getting, like, one time there was a dead bird on my porch. I was like, what's this? And I would find things in the back of my woods, like feed bags, and I would be like, who is taking this? It didn't dawn on me it could possibly be a Sasquatch. I mean, I don't know what else could have taken it. Yeah. My horses were never really uneasy, so I don't think they did anything to make them feel uncomfortable. I don't understand that whole connection. But yeah, I've just had a whole bunch of stuff happen on this property. But I was in the woods one day and I heard my name being called, like the end, like Cindy, but like the end, like Indy, like the C was silent, but I heard part of it. And it was just very, very weird. And then I was picking up, because, hey, I did not put them together of being anything else but just something unknown. I never really thought that they were a ape or a gorilla. that never sat well with me. Sorry, just a minute. Here. Go in the other room, y'all. Okay, sorry about that. But I have a dog with heart problems, and I had closed the door.
Aw.
So I was hearing things, and I would be outside doing work like in the daytime when everybody was gone. My kids were at school because I had quit my career to support my husband's career, because we're in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, there was nowhere for me. I worked in the medical industry. So I was home like all the time. And in wintertime, I heard this grunt coming from the woods, and I looked, and I was looking at my horses. JJ, he was like a quarter paint, and he had this gray, he was like white, like with blue, gray, and brown markings on him, and he had beautiful blue eyes, and he got bigger than he was supposed to, bigger than what they told me he was going to be, because I got him when he was young, and he was still growing. So I had a hard time saddling JJ, but one day I looked at him, and his tail was like all messed up, and I'm like, because in Texas we had barbed wire, and I knew how, if they got tangled in, I hated the barbed wire, but it was all we had, and I just hate barbed wire, because in Texas we had some accidents with one of our horses, and I just don't like. So I've seen them get tangled in the barbed wire. I've seen the hair get messed up in the barbed wire. This was a different type of mess. And I've talked to people that had this, and the same thing happened in Texas. I could see like the actual knots that were actual knots, and then a different type of, somebody had been messing with her tails, and I saw that up here. And so I remember looking at JJ's tail, and his mane looked like somebody had brushed half of it one way and the other half had been brushed. I was like, what is going on? And so I walked over there, and I saw a footprint, and it was only one, because here we have very sandy soil, and their trough, I was filling it with water, and I was thinking, that's not really a track. That can't be a track, because there's only one. Like, where's the rest of them? So again, I was not in the knowing of where I am now. And I called my son out, my older son, he was 9 at the time, and I covered up the footprint, and then it started raining a couple of days later, and I uncovered it, because I never was into casting or doing anything like that. I love audios. I love taking photos. Casting, I might have done it a couple of times. I was never really good at it. It just never interested me. I don't know why. And again, we're in sandy soil, and I was like, where is the rest of it? So another time I found a footprint underneath my window, but it looked kind of weird. And there was only like 2. One was very obvious, and it was deep in the dirt, and the other one looked like it wasn't that deep. And I just was like, what is going on? So a lot of small things added up to me figuring out, like, what the heck is going on. And then I started seeing things, and I thought I was crazy. I was in the woods, and I would tell my husband, and he is not into this topic. Okay, y'all, it's not that he doesn't believe, he just doesn't care. And so I told him, I was like, I found two prints. There's nothing else there. And he was like, he would like make a joke, like maybe it flew away. I was like, I'm not gonna, why bother talking to you? So then I started putting up my audio recorder, and I was getting chanting, like Indian chanting. I was getting like those maracas, like when you shake them like that and it goes, shh. I got that another time. I was like, what in the heck? And then the crazy thing happened. This deer that people started feeding, it was a baby deer, and it would just come to people's homes and they would feed it and whatever. I'd like the neighborhood adopted it. I was like, people shouldn't do that, but it was too late. So one day this deer came up. We were having a party or something, I don't know. And some of the kids were like, oh, how cute. So it was weeks later that I came outside. We had this horse trailer, a 2-horse trailer, a small horse trailer, could fit 2 horses. I came outside one day because I was going to cut through the woods to go to my neighbor's for something. And when I came outside, the horse trailer started shaking like it was possessed. Now, I thought the deer was in the horse trailer. And so I walked over there and I said, did you get trapped in there? And I hopped up there and I looked inside and there was nothing there. And I remember this dread coming over me, and I just fell to my knees and I started praying, and I was shaking, and I stood up and I realized it was getting dark and there was nobody home at my house. My kids were not home yet. I don't know why, because the school bus comes like around 4, but here it gets dark like at 4 in like November, December. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to my neighbor's house, and then eventually I came home. To this day, I have no explanation for what has happened. So then a whole bunch of paranormal things were just coming to a head. And I would hear them like so close, but there was nothing there. And I would see things like I would be making coffee and I would be looking out because I have a backyard, but then I have nothing but woods. And my left side is not as heavily wooded as my right. And I've been out in my woods, and every time I go to the right side of my property, I noticed the horses would not go to that side. It's like they avoided it. They did go. There was one path that went through there, but they pretty much stayed like on from the middle to the left of our property. And they made trails in the woods. And I was in the woods one day, and I found stuff in the back of the woods. Like I found a bike back there. Like I know my younger son, who was only 4, didn't take the bike back there. There was no way. And my older son, who was maybe 9 at the time, he hardly rode his bike. I'm like, that's weird. So I dragged it to the front, just a bunch of small stuff like that. And then I came home one night and I wasn't even home, and something had slept in my house. I didn't know it was the Monday before Memorial Day in 2017. I was pretty much putting 2 and 2 together, but I wasn't totally there yet. And I remember talking to Arla, and I remember thinking, this lady is crazy. She's off her rocker. I'm trying to find answers, but I am so sorry, Arla. I get it now. I am so sorry. I hope I never treated you bad, because you are like the epitome of what is happening here. And so the next morning when this happened, I did not know. My neighbor had also texted me. I got home like at 11. I don't know exactly what time. On Tuesday morning, my husband was getting ready to leave for work. He was eating breakfast, and he said, hey, something slapped the house. Again, he is not into this topic. And I said, something slapped the house? And I ran outside and I saw handprints on the front of my house. I have a running porch, and there's a bedroom. That was my son's bedroom, whom, by the way, he has had a ton. He's had some experiences. So that's where they slapped the house. It was not like a perfect print. It was like the fingerprints and like part of the palm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't see any prints, any footprints. And so I came back inside the house and I said, oh my gosh, what happened? And he said, nothing. Something slapped the house. It was loud enough. I got the rifle and I went to go look. The dogs were fine. So I just went to bed. I'm like, seriously? And then of course he gets irritated and he's like, maybe it was Sasquatch or Bigfoot. I was like, well, what else could it have been? And he's like, I don't know. He just doesn't care. And then I read my neighbor's text, and that is what did it for me. My neighbor, who is ex-military, 30 years, he was in the artillery. I forgot what they call it, but he's a tough guy. Okay. He is a veteran. He's just to himself over there, but he is not afraid of anything, like a burglar. They're just gonna like shoot first and ask questions later if someone's breaking onto your property, because out here is really nothing but woods, and people know better than just to come on the sides, because everywhere around me is it's private property except for the road in front of me, and that is like a logging road, and it's very skinny and it's very private. So I am like secluded here, which I totally love. But my neighbor said that his animals were acting crazy, and heads up, there's something outside, and for me to be careful because we had dogs, and I did not have my horses in 2017. I stole them like 2011 or 12, which I regret. But anyway, and then when I read the rest of his text, I couldn't believe it. He said he was standing in his bedroom, like, I don't know, an hour later, and whatever was there was hanging outside. He has a U-shaped driveway. It's all woods. Like I said, here's the road. It's all woods. All you see is the U-shaped driveway. You really can't even see his house. His place is more wooded than mine. And he said his lights were going off, the lights that go on and off when something walks by, which could be anything, could be a deer. Mine go off all the time in front of my shop. But he said that his wife was asleep. He said go poof against the window, his sliding glass door. And he's like, what the hell? So he walked out to his eating area, and there was this cat that they fed. It's a feral cat. That cat never came inside the house, but it wanted in. So he opened the door and it ran in and it went somewhere and hid. And he's like, what in the world? So he went back to his bedroom and he looked outside, and he said he saw something standing on two legs, and it was like sniffing the air, like its nose was like sniffing the air. And he said that it looked over at him and he kind of hid. Now, a bear's not going to do that. I'm sorry. And a bear's not going to be on its hind legs. Like that for a very long period of time. Maybe if you want to go there, possibly, I suppose. But he said that it had like a snout, or that it had like a pointy. And I think, what? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now at this time, that terrified me because it slapped my house. So now I'm like, well, what does it want? So my husband ended up going to work, and I called my realtor and I said, how much can I sell my house for? But as my husband said that if we sell this house, like, where do you want to go? And I said, let's just go get more land, but just like out in the open, and maybe woods or no woods. But I just don't want to be around. I don't want to be here anymore. And I was really freaked out. I was animated, and you should have seen his face looking at me. He said, if we sell this house, because I was having a hard time in the beginning from Texas moving here, because I missed my family and I missed my job, and I was just a big baby. I cried for like 2 weeks. It was stupid. He said, you're going to be done researching. And he was not kidding. And I did not want to. I talked with my friend, and he said, you'll be fine. And so after that, I started recording more. I started paying more attention. And over the years, I've had other things happen, which I can probably tell you later. But the day came where I was totally open to seeing things and accepting things. And I remember one day when my dog, I have a Malamute. I was out in the front yard, and I don't know, it was the morning sometime. And then she was, and she was sniffing, going back and forth. And something told me to get my camera, my phone, and I started like filming. And then I moved it aside, and I looked because I saw something, and I looked, and that is the only time that I saw like a Sasquatch sitting there. And I could see it. It was clear, kind of like in that Predator movie, how you see it moving like that. Have you seen that movie, The Predator?
I've seen them in Predator form. It's kind of like transparent and shimmery, right?
Yes.
I've seen that, yeah.
Okay. So I could see that with my phone camera, and I was like, oh my gosh. I see the camera down. I couldn't see it. Like I could only see it when I put my phone up, and then I looked like around, and I could see like the head, and I was thinking, oh my word. And then it didn't even really stand up. It just like took 3 steps, but it happened so fast. The only thing I remember is how it was looking like shimmery, and it didn't really have a neck. And it was the perfect classic, like if you look at a Sasquatch in the back, the perfect with a little cone, a little bit, probably not even hardly. And I was like, okay. So I went in my house and I sat down, and I was like, okay, you saw that. You saw that. And I remember talking to like Tom Cattrall. I've talked to different people, and I started from that point forward. I had a lot of other things happen, some things that were scary, but that pretty much was the moment that I witnessed, that I saw, that it looked pixelated, and it just took off. And I've never seen that in Texas. I've never seen anything like that down there. I've only seen them in the flesh down in Texas, but like moving, that also seemed to be like thinner down there. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. That pretty much in a nutshell is what did it for me. And then I've had a lot of other things happen.
Yeah. I was interested when you said about the toys and everything out in the woods, because I came across, up here, in some of the structures and some of the areas where they'll leave little toys and stuff. And a lot of them look really, really old, and like, it didn't look like regular people left them, because they were just old and mossy, and just
Yeah,
didn't look like they were anything that would functional that a kid would use. Something that was laying
Mhm.
up in the woods for years and years and years. And I came across what I call a toy cache by a great big huge structure, and there was like a rocking horse there, and there was a box of all these different toys and whatever. And when I came across it, I was thinking, yeah, okay, that's what's going on. They've got this little toy cache there, and they're just putting them here, there, and in different places. So that was interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah, but I was a actual field researcher for, I mean, I was gone all the time in the very beginning. I was gone like 2 times out of the month, and I had a 4-year-old, and then my husband was active Army. So we had a lot of, we fought a lot, but he knew, like, for example, before I would hit the woods with a bunch of guys, they would come over and he would meet them, or I would meet the wives, which is really funny. Like, the wives weren't into it. So for me, I had been actively researching, and I brought that mentality up here to where I live. And then when I came up here, I kind of met people, and like I met Angelique, I met some cops, some hunters, some guides, and I've got a whole bunch of stories. I've gone to people's homes. Me and another friend who he's not really a researcher, but he went with me to Angelique's property where she lived, and I walked her property and we talked. She heard some of my audios, and I continue to take reports over the years. And I would take my young son with me when I would go take some of these reports, and I've got some crazy reports.
Yeah.
So then we formed the team this year in March because I just felt the need to do that. And Angelique, of course, really came naturally because it's like they told me, form a team. And then,
How did they
it
tell
was
you
like
that?
I woke up.
How did they tell you that?
I woke up and it was like an order. I woke up and I told my husband, I'm going to form a female team. Of course, again, he looked at me. He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, I'm going to form when we get home, because I'm on my property right now. And I said, I'm going to form this team. It was like a prompting, like a nudging, like I don't know how else to just, like a knowing, a feeling, like
No,
I
I know
can go out.
I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. So it wasn't like mind speak. It was just like you just had this strong idea that you had to do it. Like a
Yes,
thought
and
placement, like thought placement.
yes, yes, and I've told people too, like, is this the right thing to do? Like I never really doubted anything until I thought about like all the things we would be facing, because I like my life. I like me being out in my woods. Nobody tells me what to do. I do my own thing. And I've seen a ton of groups, how groups can be, but this was, me and her are like, we're like salt and pepper.
Cool. So, do you think it's the same clan on both sides of the mountain? Do you think you're dealing with the same individuals, you girls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. So, Angelique, we were talking pre-show, and you said that you started, or you attempted to communicate with them through glyphs. So, do you want to tell us how that went down?
Yes. I actually used your advice because you were the one that first told me. I think Tom Cantrell was the one that had kind of told me to contact you about it. And so I got a hold of you, and I don't know if you remember or not, but you gave me some amazing advice. with being able to take sticks and uniform size and set them down and with intention ask them to communicate to me through the sticks. And as I did this, I wanted to introduce myself to them. Now, this was back, I would have to say, in the beginning, before I realized that they probably already did have a name for me. And that was, I would lay these sticks down and I would form an A, because that was the only thing that I could think of, because my name's Angelique. So I would form an A and I would point to the sticks, and then I would point to myself. And then I would do that several times, thinking that they didn't understand me. Well, now I look back now and realize that they probably did understand me the whole time, but I didn't understand them. So now what I did back then was I put the sticks down in my own shape of an A, and then I put sticks down for them, and then I would point to the sticks and where I knew that they were at. And the reason why I say that I knew where they were at was because the area that I go to, I used to live there. They know me there because I lived there. They were constantly around me and watching, and they got to know me. So when I would be at that area, I could hear footfalls, or I could hear, I've heard samurai chatter. I've heard wood knocks, whistles, things like that. Just kind of the typical things that you normally hear associated with it, you know. What I did was I laid the sticks down, I would point to it, and then I would point to them. But I was very careful not to look directly at them, because especially with, like, I call them tree peekers, when you look directly at them, they either freeze and kind of blend into whatever they're around, or they'll hide again, and you might not get to see them after that. So I do more with like a peripheral vision when I'm looking at them. So what I would do is I would point to the sticks, and then I would point in their general direction, but I would be careful not to look directly at them. And then I would leave, and I would go down to the lake or whatever, and I would take my garbage sack and I'd pick up the garbage, and then I would come back and those sticks would be arranged. And some of the arrangements were so intricate, I don't even think I could copy it. I did take a photo, which I'm sorry I didn't share with you today. I have it, but I don't have it with me to be able to have given it to you. But it was, I took a photo of it in the hopes that maybe I might be able to copy it and look at it to be able to do it back to them later. I couldn't. There's just no way I could do it. It was such an intricate weaving in such a balanced way that there's no way that I could do it. Even following a photograph, I don't think I could do it. Now, what they did show me that kind of made me feel emotional was that I had gone down to the lake and I'd called my son. And because we used to live there, my son still goes back to that lake all the time to fish in a kayak. Well, he had called me and he had said, you know, I'm down here at the lake if you want to come visit me. And I was passing through the area and I said, yeah, I'll come down and hang out for a while. So while he was finishing up his fishing, I went and cleaned up the garbage around, and I walked around and I kind of talked to them and just kind of, I guess you could say, just kind of hung out with them. I just kind of hung out with them in the woods. And then when he was done fishing, he was loading up his boat. And at that point in time, I didn't even try to do anything with the glyphs because he was there. His father-in-law was there, and they were loading up the kayaks, putting them in the pickup and getting ready to leave. And at that point, it was literally just the three of us. And I said, okay, you know, well, I'm not going to worry about the glyphs today. I'm not even really going to think about it. So he got ready to leave and was loading up his boat. And I said my goodbyes and turned to get into the Jeep. And when I went to get into my Jeep, there was my A right in front of the door to my Jeep, laying on the ground. This big A that there's no possible way I could have stepped out of the Jeep without stepping on it. And these were bigger sticks. These were bigger sticks. And what I felt really excited about was that it wasn't 3 sticks, you know, the 2 with the bar in the middle. It was 2 sticks, one that had a Y with the bar in the middle. And I went, you guys know, you guys, and at that point in time, I was beginning to totally realize that, okay, this is a joke, me assuming that they're illiterate. It's foolish of me to assume that they are a lesser intelligent being. I feel humbled, and I feel absolutely foolish for having been arrogant enough to think that these were people that were less than we are. And since that moment, life has totally changed for me and has opened up an entire realm of things that I absolutely am completely just awestruck over. And my relationship with them has increased since then 100 times. So
do you think that has something to do with you because you showed them respect?
Absolutely.
That they opened up more to you?
Absolutely. The way that I look at it is, okay, first of all, I have grown up on the reservation. I've learned from the elders, and I was always taught to respect. Respect it's a big thing just for other people amongst ourselves and the elders of our own people. But to address these ancient ones, these people, they are the ones that have come before us, and they are the ones that deserve our respect. And they deserve to be, I can't even really totally put into words other than the respect issue is absolutely and utterly imperative. Absolutely, you have got to be respectful, and any amount of disrespect, untruth, anything that has to do with anything that shows that you do not respect them, you will be vetted. Mm-hmm. And so that is something that I have found. And so for myself, yes, that respect, as soon as I realized that respect needs to be given to them in a high place, a high honor place, then things opened up. And I will tell you, it sickens me and it makes me sick physically when I know people are talking about going and killing one, treating them like they're animals, calling them apes. These are not, they are people, and they have families, they have clans, they have mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. They have I think even a sort of a government system. They are a people. They're an ancient people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really connect with what you said about them putting that A right by your car or whatever. Well, I've had dozens and dozens, more than dozens. So many experiences where they've done that, where you'll be like, I've even been in like Oregon and Washington State, and I'm from BC, right? And I was visiting my wife, who's with me now, living with me in BC now, and they would leave messages and stuff right by my car, or just wherever we were, and it was obvious, like
Yeah.
yours was. And so yeah, that's amazing. And I was going to say, do you understand any of the language?
No, I don't, other than what I have felt by what they have done, because I'm going to swap out my earbud. It's going dead on me real quick, so hopefully I won't lose you and have to cut out. I'm going to hold the thought for just a second real quick and switch out, okay?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, that's better.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
Well,
So,
I was going to. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
to answer that question, one of the things that I have found is they are very adept at being able to project. You said something, and I would like for you to tell me again what that phrase was. It's not mind speak, but more of a
Thought placement.
yes. They are able to speak in a way that will allow you to understand without knowing what their language is. I can't understand it. I've tried, but it's just too fast. It is just too fast.
Well, no, when I was saying thought placement, it's like this happens all the time. It's a form of mind speak. It's like you get a thought in your head that you know isn't yours. Sometimes it's a download of information or something. That's a little different.
Yes.
But sometimes it's just, geez, I wonder if you'll get a thought. I wonder if they did this, or I wonder if it's like this. And that thought is placed in your head because as soon as you say it or think it, you look down on the forest floor or somewhere, and the answer is right there.
Yes.
And that happens dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And the thing is that they're not 3D linear time. So they already know what you're thinking and what you're going to do before you even think it. That's the case. That's the case with me and the glyphs. Even some of the understandings of what they mean for me, they knew years and years before I came up with that meaning that I was going to come up with that, because they're already connecting with me with those messages, and it was so obvious years before I even knew what they meant, because I'd look back and I'd see that. And so I wanted to suggest one thing to you. If you want to try to understand what some of the glyphs mean, is just tell them, or when you see something that they consistently leave, just think on it and come up with a meaning for it. For instance, I came up with a meaning for the Y stick. Means to me, man, Sasquatch connected. And that's what it means now. And I found out that after I came up with that meaning, an agreement between myself and them, that they were connecting with me according to that meaning years before I came up with it. And so if you come up with an idea of the A means whatever, or whatever other symbols you find means this, don't be surprised if you'll be able to start reading what they mean, because they'll start leaving you messages with those symbols according. And it'll be obvious that the meaning is what you think or what you arrange with them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. And
so I haven't. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to tell you, ladies. I mean, you obviously, and this is in relation to that picture that you showed Cindy the other day. That I've got it up. If we could bring it up, do you want to show it?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, we can bring it up in due time. But I just wanted to tell you, ladies, this. You have a relationship with the Sasquatch, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You got a connection with them, like I do and others do, and it's very special. And they only reach out to people who they want to connect with, people who are open-minded and who can actually learn from them. What they're trying to teach us, and never ever water what your experiences down just to fit some skeptics or some naysayers' beliefs, or because they're attacking you. you know, and calling you this and calling you that. You know, the Sasquatch deserve, we're like speaking, oh, I'm getting energy right now. They're just connected with me. They really want this point brought across. I get hit up with energy when I'm speaking truths that they want shared. So they want people to speak their truth, and they want people to be honest, and they don't want people to hold stuff back just because it doesn't fit somebody's
narrative
or whatever, or narrative. So don't let these people, and I know, Cindy, you were saying that you had a good friend that was attacking you and whatever. You know what? So what? Just water off a duck's back. Don't worry about it, because you are representing them and their words. And it's and you know, we're slowly starting to get away from the ape man of the woods, you know, kind of thing. And actually people are starting to realize that they're more than that. Even some of the hardcore you know, the circuit guys that go to every convention or whatever, like we all know who they are, and I don't want to name names, but and I'm not criticizing them, but the guys who have been in the ape camp and the flesh and blood camp, now they're starting to get somewhere in the middle or whatever, you know, because they can't deny
something's going on.
Yeah, so we're trailblazing for these guys and whatever, and for the Sasquatch. So don't let them bother you, and don't water anything down just because you know, you're going to get attacked for it. I've been attacked. I've been called a hoaxer. I've been called this and that. And I don't really care. I couldn't care less, because I know, you know, it's legitimate. I know my experiences are real. And same
So,
with you, girl. Be brave in your resolve, and be true to what they're showing you, and don't just you know, the attackers, just send them love and hope for better for them, you know. Don't put your emotions into it.
So I never did any of the glyphs like what Angelique did. I said I was going to, but I do more of, because
Don't do it. Go ahead.
I know I'm the worst procrastinator, but what I do is I like to talk. I'll talk a lot. You ask anybody, I won't shut up. I will go out into the woods, and I've like played my flute out there, and I've you know, I've heard like branches breaking. I've had some funny encounters, some scary encounters. I have something that I was taught is to set my boundaries, and whenever, like the thing with the horses, I would tell them, don't touch my animals. Don't, you know, these are they're my pets. I love them. Don't touch them. But I wasn't like nice about it. I was just firm. I said, this is my dog. This is, you know, Ace. This is Gunner. This is my horse, JJ. This is Philly, my horse. This is Isla, my horse. Don't touch them. Do not touch them. And then I had.
Did they listen?
Hell no. Well, with my horses, I think that they messed with them a little bit, but I don't think that they were ever like traumatized or anything, because I never had to like lunge them or do anything to calm them down. But okay, so here's an example.
Hang on a second. When you say your horses, were they braiding their hair and whatever? Is that what they were doing? Like, I've heard a lot of that, where they will braid the manes and the tails of the horses. Was that what was going on?
Yes, but when I say braid, I'm not saying like your typical braid. There was a pattern there, but it wasn't like a braid. People just call it braids. It wasn't a witch's knot. It wasn't like a bun. It was just, and I saw this in Texas, and people had talked about it. Some people had theories, you know, like maybe they were molested, which that just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, at least not up here. And they were, no, like I said,
that's the attitude of guys that think that they're monsters, right?
Right, exactly.
They always go to the lowest. They always go to the lowest denominator. They don't understand. You know, these Sasquatch people have respect for all nature and things.
Right. Now, I have other things that come through here. I have audios that are insane. We got this dog, a lab, in 2006 17 because my youngest son, who at the time was 14, you know, he was a teenager. That was his dog. He had a dog that got killed because we were building a shop, and then unfortunately he got run over by heavy equipment. It was bad. So I know it's
I hate
bad.
that.
It was
I hate
bad.
that.
He was crying, and I've never seen him cry. Oh, it was bad. So we got another dog in like August of 2017, and we were actually building a shop. And at that time, I was working with a friend in Bonners Ferry. You probably know her. Anyway, I won't say her name, but she is really amazing. She would like help me, tell me what to say, and then some other friends that were also First Nations would also tell me like what to say. And
What
I might
to
even
say
have
to the
talked.
Sasquatch, you mean? What do you mean by what to
Yes.
say? You mean how to speak to them?
Yes, just
Well,
setting boundaries.
I mean, it's simple. You just speak from your heart, don't you?
Exactly. That's what, like, just talk. So I started talking
Talk to
the
them. Yeah,
woods.
yeah. Let's get on this point. Talk to them respectfully, like, you know, like not that there's some
Yes.
weird thing, just like you're talking to a friend. And
Right,
with
but I
respect.
mean, still, it was new to me, so I felt kind of like, but I did it and I meant it, because Gunner is a lab that we got, and we were building this shop out here, and Gunner would take off, and so we built this fence. And then I think I did not say, this is Gunner, don't touch him. You know, like my animals are like, you know, I don't want you playing with, don't hurt my animals. Because in my head, I still, you know, had some apprehensions about it, like versus now what I know. One night, it was spring break in 2018 because my kids were in the toy hauler. My son had some friends over. At this time, I think he was like maybe 14 or 15. And I put out my audio recorder at like 12:30 and I went to bed. The next day, when I heard my audio, Gunner had gone out through the doggy door, and he had gone through 1 acre. In the corner, there's this big game trail that goes on that side of the property, and it crosses over, and it's like a T. It crosses over to my neighbor's property because we have like moose here and elk, even though I haven't seen elk in a long time, but moose do come back here. And Gunner had been at the corner, and he was barking and barking, and then all of a sudden this roar happens, and it sounded very annoyed, very scary. And I am like, what the heck? So I walked to the corner of the property, and there was this hole underneath the fence. And then I walked on the outside of where my road is at, like in the ditch. And I saw where something had been messing with the fence on that side. And I'm thinking, what the hell? And then across the street is nothing but 10 acres. There was nobody living there. The people knew that we took care of the property. And so I went back in the house with Gunner, and we ended up putting rocks in the fence. And I was just thinking, what in the world? Why was it, you know, growling at my dog? And so, you know, I've had different stories like that happen, and that audio is insane. It's really crazy. So I do more of going out into the woods, and I can feel when they come around sometimes. Like yesterday morning, I was in here, but I was in my kitchen, and I could feel like, and I looked out the window, and I got my phone, and I did a faraway picture, and then I zoomed in, and I took another, and then I took a third, like for comparison, especially after that photo we're going to talk about in a minute. And I was like, and he's there. Now I can see it, but sometimes like Angelique can't see things that I can see. So she has different talents. I have different talents. Like I haven't tried the glyph thing yet. I do more of observing because I live here and I'm always out in my backwoods. Now it's a little hard because we got a ton of snow out there, so I have to like track out. I don't have snowshoes. I should get some. But there he was. You could see it, and there's like it's loaded. You can see all kinds of things, but you can see the one, and it's on my Facebook page. I'll post it. I was like, heck yeah. But the photo that you're going to show, I want to explain really quick. A lady called
should we bring it up? Should we bring it up, or do you want to explain first?
Sure. Let me explain first, then you can bring it up.
Okay.
So in 2017, I got connected with a lady who said, I walked my dog, I found this weird structure, and because it was close by and she was a little like excited about it, I figured, well, okay, I'll go meet her. So we hiked into this area, which at the time I think was state land. I don't know, I'll have to confirm that. But we walked in there, and it's a place where a lot of kids would ride their four-wheelers, and it's pretty big, and it's wooded, and it's off the lake, kind of like it goes back there. But what we found was this weird structure, and I was like, but it had, so this is all about the structure, okay? I did not see anything. I didn't see anything in the trees. The lady had a dog. I looked down at the dog. The dog was fine. He wasn't acting weird. And then I got that creepy feeling because I crawled into like this structure. There was a entrance. There was like a fire pit in there. And then I saw like clean cut. So I thought, maybe this is just humanly made. And then I got that feeling, and then I walked out, and then we talked some more, and I said, I think we need to leave now. And so when we were leaving the area, I just felt like something I remember looking at her dog, but her dog was fine. And I was like, okay. So I was excited. I thought, oh, this is cool. And I shared it on this page, and I was pretty naive. What happened was because first off, I didn't present the structure the right way. I didn't make the notes that I had. I just posted it and I said, found in, wherever. I didn't go into enough detail. So of course I started getting attacked. And these are people that supposedly know me. And they're saying, well, why'd you show this photo? You're not being a responsible researcher. This is clearly human made. You can see how it was, made. It was somebody cut it. And I was like, then I'm sitting here typing, explaining. And then I put it at, how you edit it. And I said, update, explain. And then everyone's like, oh. And then you have the other rude people. And then I had a talk with the person of that board because she's like, you should post. But nobody on there is woo at all. And I ended up, I thought I had deleted that photo. And that was that. I think I posted it in this one other board. I'm not sure, but I think that was it because of the how it was received. I know it looks human made. I'm just showing you what I found. I pointed out the points. I'm not trying to pass this off as this is unknown. We don't know because kids couldn't have made that. That's for dang sure. That thing, when you got in there, things were interwoven. And so then that was that. And then a couple of days ago, it popped up on my Google memories, not my Facebook memories, my Google memories, which means it's showing me my original photo. And I don't even know how to go in there. Okay. I don't even know because I had Verizon at the time. I have AT&T. So I had to go into this I had to get help. Because I had to do a double take and look at that. And I was like, what in the hell? I was like, is somebody playing a trick on me? And then, of course, like what I did, I was all excited because I wanted to show how photos could be manipulated. But in my head, I was thinking, okay, somebody like who's the prankster out there? Who did this? I don't, but I'm optimistic. I'm more open to discussing what the possibility 17 So the next thing I know, and I did type it out. I said, I took this photo. I took one photo. I found this in my Google memories or the whatever the data bank. And it's different. I did not have the visual when I was there, but I didn't have, the only photo I had was with that Sasquatch, like morphing out of how it is. I couldn't find the original photo anywhere. That was years ago. I have a different phone. And then the next thing I know, the photo is going viral. Everybody is seeing Jesus in this photo. Everybody is seeing, other things. People, I mean, they're like looking at me like I'm like, oh my God. And the next thing you know, you have the people coming out that say, oh, you believe in that? Like the people on your board. And I was thinking, oh my God, what have I done? You should not have showed this photo because it's, we don't know if, because it looks a little weird. Okay, I'm sorry, Brian, but it does, to me, it looks like the yard art, like, there's concrete statues, and Angelique has one, she had one, or she does, but at the same time, so, and I tried to ask the Sasquatches, but I got such a combination of hits that it left a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't think my vibration was high enough, and I really didn't get an answer. But what really upset me was that somebody that I work with that is a knower, and he does work with his own he's been growing. He grew up with these Sasquatches. I sent them to him, but I also sent him an explanation. And he just went off the deep end, and he said, that is not a structure that was made by the Sasquatches, and that is not a that's like a fake photo. And I was like, okay, but it was how he went about it, and then he continued to, beat me down and say I'm this awful person, and I will never know what he knows, and it just really hurt me, because I am not that person. And then on the next thing I know, everybody is like defending me, and I'm like, oh shoot. But then go ahead.
Why did he say it wasn't a Sasquatch or whatever? Because he didn't think that they could cloak or whatever? Or he didn't think they had those abilities, or what was his reason for?
No, he knows that they can do all those things. He has taught us things, and he's told us things, so we know he's the real deal. So, and I value his opinion and his input. But I mean, really, we don't know what happened. We really don't know what happened. And I usually get that feeling, like that confirmation of, okay, maybe this is something. But the truth is that we don't know. And me and Angelique actually had this conversation. So I've had many photos I have taken. Like yesterday, you can clearly see him in the back. Well, I mean, not like this photo, but I saw it in the moment. And some people felt like if I took that photo, like I should have seen it change like right away. But I've heard so many people say that they change over time. They can manipulate. They can, they can do all kinds of things. I've gotten all kinds of answers.
Every photo I've ever taken, like similar to yours, I didn't see it until after the fact. I didn't see it till after the fact, and you're also right. They can actually put images on photographs after the fact too. It happened to my wife in Hawaii recently, where she took a photograph and she was 100% sure it was on it, and then all of a sudden there was a friendship welcome X on the photograph that was not there, and it looked like it was photoshopped onto it. To be truthful. So they can do that. They can take pictures off your camera. They can take pictures with your camera, add images on your camera. They can change the photograph after the fact, like I said. So they're capable of all that. But what was this guy? What was the basis of this guy attacking you? What was his reasoning? Why was he attacking you?
He was offended that I sent him the photo, but he didn't like communicate with me or like call me up and like, let's talk about this. I think he took that. I was trying to show him, and I even had an open mind about it. And and I don't know if I typed it out, but it was my intention, like, to show him that, hey, look what happened, just tell him the story, but we never got that far. So I was just like, okay. So, and I've tried to call him, I've tried to talk to him because I value his opinion. So because he said that is not a structure that, but if you look at the photo, there's beings in this teepee. I can clearly see them.
Yep.
People have.
Still, I want to repeat, why was he attacking you if he's got this knowing, or if he's had this experience? What was it? Why was he thinking? Do you think it? I don't understand. Why was he so the animosity?
He was just mad that I sent him this photo. I'm still confused. I don't know. He hasn't called me back. He's not calling me back. I don't know. He just said that I offended him and that there's a time to share everything, and that this was not, like, why am I trying to pass off this fake information? And
What?
I'm like, yes, that's what he was saying. He said,
I don't understand that. I can't understand why he would do that.
Yeah, me either.
That's
Can you
what
guys hear
I'm
me?
questioning. I'm questioning why. I'm just gonna chalk it up to he's human. He's not perfect. I don't know. I have no answers at this point.
Seems really
I
weird.
don't.
Like, I mean, if the guy was like BFRO and whatever, he thought they were Magilla Gorilla
No.
running around, and
No.
you know, then I could maybe see
can
that.
can I interject,
Go ahead.
guys, please? Okay.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we're in a debate about why this person feels the way that they are. And okay, so I'm not about drama.
Right.
And honestly, it kind of feels like it's getting to be a drama here, and I really don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna say on behalf of how I feel, and Cindy and I have already talked about it, and she and I love her, and we're friends. We've been friends for a long time. On this subject, I have to agree to disagree, only because I have seen the original photograph.
Mhm.
And I have family members and friends who have worked in digital media who immediately were able to pick out pixels and stuff. So for me, I feel, this is my opinion, okay? I feel that this person was probably extremely offended because he does have a very close relationship with a clan, and he felt that they had been disrespected by a photo manipulation. Now, whether or not it happened because of any that's all speculation, and it's neither here nor there. What is important is that the truth is being presented to the people about these forest people. And I think that the reason why he was so offended was because he felt that they had been disrespected. This is a Lakota elder, okay? He has been working with the Lakota tribe and with this clan his entire life. And this is a different way of thinking than, and please forgive me for what sounds like a racist comment, because it's not. It is a different way of thinking than the white way. And please don't take that in a wrong way, because it's not meant to be that way. It is native people take our traditions and our beliefs very, very, very personally, and we can become very offended when we feel that something or someone has been disrespected. And quite frankly, I will be honest with you, and I felt myself that it had been photoshopped, and that bothered me because I have seen the original photo. Whether or not it was done by anybody, my only goal is to see that the truth comes out, because when it comes to people, the forest people, if there is a lie made about them and to them, you will be vetted. And it is very important, if you're establishing a relationship with them, to remain truthful and honest at all times. And sometimes people's tempers get in the way. Sometimes their egos get in the way. You have to be doing this in a humble way. And I apologize for having interrupted, but I felt it was something that needed to be said.
Okay, well, no, I agree. No, you didn't. I have a few comments on that. So did anyone have, so the original photo, it didn't show this figure?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Not in the
Okay.
slightest.
Did it, but then when did you come into possession of it again? It came up on your feed?
Yeah. And I
Afterwards.
just,
Okay, so hold on. We got to clarify this. So it came up on your feed, and then suddenly the image is there, but no one had access to it,
I'm frozen.
obviously, to mess with it, right? Is that correct?
And here's some of that. I froze. Y'all froze.
I said, so the original photo did not show this image, but when it came, but you saw it again on your feed, and the image was there, right?
Right. Yeah. The last time I
Okay,
saw
well,
this photo was 2017.
Yeah, no, but we got to clarify this. So when you saw it again, it came up on your feed, like for memories or whatever, and no one had access to it to manipulate it. Is that correct?
As far, not on my end, as far, I don't know. But another friend that had saw this, he said he hunted down where I had posted. He remembered, and he sent me a copy of what I posted in 2017. And
No, but
so
we got to clarify this though. Let's not get. Let's be very specific on this. So it came up on your memories.
yes.
Is that how it came up?
Yes.
When you saw it again. So then basically no one had access to it to change it.
Not that I
That
know.
we
of,
know
but-
it. That
Right.
we know it.
That
Well, how
I
could
know
they?
of.
If it came up on your Facebook memories, no one could have changed it.
It came
But-
up both on in my emails. It says, "Here is your memories" or whatever. Because I have AT&T now. I'm not a techie person. I don't understand. Like, I don't even know if I could go back and find it again. I would have to ask for help again. But the point is that I was able to get the original photo through my friend, and then I saw where this was going, and then and I've talked with a couple of people, and so again, going to the knowing part of how we feel, we're just gonna say for that photo because we're just not feeling it. Everything else I don't have a problem with, and I don't want this to wreck or sabotage anything that we are going to do. And if maybe that was it, what if they are trying to come through or whatever, they'll do it again. But I'm just not feeling it, and I can understand Angelique, what she's saying, and that's how we work together. That doesn't hurt my feelings, and she understands because she knows this person also. So.
And why did the fellow say it wasn't a Sasquatch structure? Because one thing that I found, first of all, I know that people make a lot of these structures. You can't deny that. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've experienced that where I thought, people make them. Sasquatch also make them. But the thing is that just because something's cut or sawed or whatever, I don't get that argument, because guess what? Sasquatch are going to use anything that is available, I mean, and so people say, well, obviously, dum-dum, it was cut with a saw. Okay, so it was cut with a saw. So what? It doesn't mean that a person made it. Some people say, well, if it's not snapped and it looks like, organically made or whatever, I mean, that does not mean anything.
Yeah.
So was that one of this individual's arguments, that it was obviously? Why did he say it was obviously human-made?
I think he said it from his connections and what he receives from the Sasquatch people. So I think that's what he was trying to tell me, that his.
She's gone.
It's his contribution that it is not. It is not. What happened?
You went away.
Cut off for a minute. So he was getting a message from them that it was human made.
That's what I'm assuming, because we are working with him, and hopefully we can continue to do that. It was just very, like she said, I don't want to keep talking about this photo because we have so many more things to talk about. So we just come to the conclusion that we just don't know. And, she thinks it was Photoshop, and I pretty much agree. And I have no answers. And I agree with everything you're saying, but I just don't know.
How could it be photoshopped if it came up on your news feed from one of your memories?
Actually, well, you guys, I'm on like perma mute. Am I muted on your end?
Uh-oh. We can hear you.
We hear you.
Oh, you can?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Look,
good.
I mean, I don't know. I don't understand, but I have like my memories come up all the time, and nobody can manipulate those memories on my computer. I mean, how could it be manipulated?
I don't know.
This was through an online. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, but this came up in your Google memories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
Yeah.
what that means is it's stored up in the cloud. It's no longer on her computer, and other people don't necessarily have direct access to it, except unless Google allows them to. Or and there's always now. I want to preface this whole thing with, I've seen some pretty weird stuff, and that doesn't seem too far out of the realm of things I've seen. It's the best example of it I've ever seen, but the idea of them coming through like that or leaving like that is, I've got video of it, so I know. But when it comes to Google Images and having basically chain of custody is broken at that point, AI has access to that stuff. And I'm not sure how well Google manages your privacy. I honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
So anybody could have actually truly gotten to it.
Yep.
Okay.
Now,
and yeah, go ahead.
Just another couple things. You said you saw a simulated fire pit in it, or a real fire pit?
No, there was like a campfire, like, so, it felt some fire, and they were, it was inside the structure. And I posted that when I first showed the picture, and then somewhere along the line, I don't know what happened. Doesn't matter. We are moving on because we have too much that we have to do, and maybe one day we'll understand it. I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll show the picture. So there was a fire pit that was actually used for fire. Because I thought you meant like a rock circle fire pit.
No. Sorry, there was an actual
fire pit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fire pit.
Boy, she's really breaking up, eh? You guys with me? With me, Angelique?
I'm here.
I'm
She's
here.
really
Great. Everybody froze.
Yeah, you're really breaking up a lot, Cindy, unfortunately. Okay, well, anyway, I just wanted to make one comment. Yeah, she's frozen. I just wanted to make one comment on it before we look at the picture. I don't agree, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but I don't agree with your friend and his the way he acted on it, because there's one thing that I know is that if the Sasquatch do not want you to see something, you're not going to see it. Because I've had images that might have been sensitive or whatever that were removed from my camera.
Yeah, me too.
So, I mean, so if this Sasquatch individual or whatever it is, if it is a Sasquatch individual, on this photograph did not want to be seen, it would not be there. So your First Nation,
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, but hold on. But you can. Your First Nations friend, I don't agree with them, because you're not disrespecting them. Because if they thought it was disrespectful, they did not want it seen, it would not be there. Period. And that's a fact.
Okay.
Because I've experienced it, and I know that.
And I have too. Absolutely. My question to you is how I want to know, for my own information's sake, is how often have you found them putting themselves into photographs rather than removing? I have examples of them removing themselves, so that when you take a photograph, suddenly the image that you thought you were taking of them, that's not in the picture. So my question is, in reverse, does that happen where they actually post themselves in a photo, where you are looking at an empty space and suddenly there's a filler of a forest thing. That's my question, because I'm very interested in it, because I do have, photos where things were removed. So
Let me just give you a bunch of examples of like that kind of stuff. Okay. But I won't go into too much. I won't go into too much detail, but it's really fascinating. I've had where my wife and I have taken pictures of a raven feather gift that we were given. That was really an amazing time. Like the ravens, I'm pretty sure were shapeshifters. We had just incredible stuff happening around that. It was like everything was, I don't know, like we had like Sasquatch interaction all through this. They were leaving glyphs on our blankets that just appeared after we laid the blanket down, kind of thing. So there was a lot of supernatural stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I took about 5 pictures of this raven feather, right? With our camera, with 2 separate cameras. And later in the evening, we said, well, let's look at the pictures. And they were all gone. Every one of the pictures was removed from our camera. Every other picture we took was there. Okay, so that's an example. I've had like images show up on my camera where we didn't take it, like they look like interdimensional kind of things. Pictures show up. There was one amazing story where, and this is really detailed and talks about a lot of different aspects of this kind of thing, where a friend of mine and myself went to the woods, and actually this is so incredible because they were using 3 different individuals that came together, and then their point or whatever, and their lesson was for all of us, and we were all being used to come to this point where the lesson could be presented. And what happened was basically this fellow took a picture of a spike that he found, and he was a tracker, and he just said, well, that wasn't there when I just was here a minute ago, like, and this guy observes everything. And I hope I made that clear. So we meet at a restaurant, and there's another fellow there, okay? And we had some Sasquatch activity, and so we're talking to this other fellow, and I said, hey, show this guy the picture of a piece of wood with some mushrooms on it, okay? Because this guy is into mushrooms and whatever, like not so much the magic ones, more just just like mushrooms, like people are in mushroom clubs or whatever, right? And so so he took a picture of these mushrooms, and I said, hey, show the guy the picture of the mushrooms, and as I'm talking about this, I'm also saying, hey, by the way, I'm talking to this other fellow. I'm saying, they add and remove pictures from cameras. I just happened to be talking about it at the time, and I was explaining how they have removed images from my camera. Mm-hmm. So just imagine this, right? So I'm saying to this guy, show John the picture of the mushrooms. And as he's going through his camera, that picture is gone. That one picture. And, I'm talking about them removing pictures from cameras, right? And that one picture is gone. So and it gets even weirder. So imagine that. And then we showed him a picture of the spike that the Sasquatch had left for us, because I know, they had to have because of what happened. And the guy looks like, what the F, like, what the hell? I was just going to the store to get one of those spikes. The exact spike. It was like a foot-long spike. So that, again, is no coincidence. And after the fact, as we looked at the camera again later in the day, they added a psychedelic kind of image on the camera, exactly where, you look at your phone, right? You can tell all the little pictures and whatever and where it would have fit in. And we figured out that right where that picture of the mushrooms on the stick was taken, that was removed, this is where the psychedelic image showed up afterwards. So, so they had all 3 of us working together for an understanding, like the spike that this guy was going to get that blew his mind. I'm talking about them removing pictures from cameras. And do? They removed a picture and then they added an image. So yes, all this stuff that you're talking about absolutely happens, and I've had it happen. That's not the only incident. I've had it happen a lot. But and also I've had stuff I'm pretty sure show up after the fact, like you were asking, where there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden there's an image there of them or something that they want you to see. Well, like my wife, like I said, she was in Hawaii and she took a picture of some lava rocks, and the Sasquatch connected with her 3 times in Hawaii. And in this particular lava rock picture, she's absolutely 100% sure what she's looking at. Then she's looking at it a little bit later, and there's a next, and it looks like it's almost floating in midair. And it's a friendship welcome act, is our understanding of it. So they were greeting her, and that image was added after the fact. The picture did not contain that image, but it did after the fact. So yeah, all that stuff can happen. All that stuff can happen, and it's happened so many times with me that I don't even question it anymore.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, I myself, I really, with all of my heart, hope that that is what actually happened here, because I can tell you, if somebody in the cloud, in Google or whatever, if anybody deliberately tampered with a photograph and did something like that, it is something that, even if it was meant to be a joke, who knows? We don't know. We can only speculate. If that is what actually happened, then that person needs to show some integrity and either, get rid of it or be able to say, yeah, hey, it meant to be a joke or whatever, but because things like that discredit a lot of hard work that people do. All it takes is one person doing some small hoax, and you could be totally discredited from then on. And we've all known people that's happened to.
It's very unlikely. That I think it's probably that they were involved. The Sasquatch people were involved some way. And I would just tell your friend, and I mean, don't be intimidated by people. I would just say, look, you've got a connection with Sasquatch. Or I would assume he knows that if they don't want you to see something, you're not going to see it. So his idea that you're disrespecting them is bullshit.
Well, like I said, that on that, with him being a native elder,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If they don't want you to see it, they won't see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the First Nations people have some different ideas. Sometimes I don't always agree with. I respect them. I respect their culture and stuff, but it's not always. It's just basically they've got their own ideas and history and whatever, and they follow that.
And I respect, and I have to respect that as well, because he is my elder. I am Lakota, so for me, I have to respect that.
But I would still say, if the Sasquatch put himself in that picture, there was a reason for it, and he wanted to be seen. So there's no disrespect there, from my experience. Looks like we lost our.
What happened?
What's that?
Are you here? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because it's frozen up so much. I missed a lot of the conversation. So what I would like to do is just to move on, because we got so much more other positive things to talk about.
Yeah. Well, you want to look at the picture quickly, though? Or no?
Not really. I would kind of just want to move on, because I feel like Angelique a little bit, because I've had enough experiences where, I know, and that is my photo, and I felt it's just really, I just would just want to move on. We've said what we've had to say, and I understand what you're saying too. I feel I'm just gonna remain open to anything else happening or that I receive in the future. And I'm just going to be sure I share a couple of people first. If I get something like that again, I'll come to you with it. And I'll, of course, with my team and hopefully with anyone else that we're working with. And, because we do have a responsibility with what we present. I do feel very strongly with that. And they are choosing us. it's so obvious. I mean, when Angelique comes over, they just pop out of the trees.
Yeah. Well, one of the big lessons, I mean, like I've been taught universal lessons from the Sasquatch. That's the big thing with me, universal truths and whatever. And, so that we can change humanity, and like, the conscious shift, whatever you want to talk about, is really just a higher vibration of thinking. And one of the keys to that is no judgment. So when people are judging you and attacking you, whatever, that's not the Sasquatch way. That's not the Sasquatch way. It's about love. It's about connection. It's about all one, all connected. It's about no division, no judgment, and no fear. So when people are attacking you in that way, they're not following the Sasquatch.
Well, I don't want to say that he was attacking me. So I shouldn't have used those words. He is acting in the way his people, just like Angelique said, and I am Native American too, and my people would act that way too. But we also have a want to know for more information. So that is why I have to kind of just say, let's just move on.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I hear what you're saying, because we've got so much more stuff to talk about,
Okay. But I'm just saying, judgment's a big thing. We got to get over that.
Oh, I know.
And every culture and everything, we've all got issues and whatever, right? So nobody's perfect. So we should all reconsider some of that stuff. Okay, so let's move on then. What do you want to talk about next, ladies?
Well, we can go into some of the experiences we've had as a team, and
absolutely, let's do that.
And so Angelique found this area of, and I will let her tell you about that, because I went out, but she found it, and it was insane. I don't know. Would you like to tell them about that, Angelique?
Which area? Which one?
Well, okay, so we can talk about the peeled banana tree area, or we can talk about the longhouse area. Okay, you want to talk about the longhouse area because of what happened to us?
Yeah, I think the longhouse area would be a good one to talk about. So, do you want to talk about it, or do you want to take the lead?
Why don't you talk about Angelique, because you're coming in a little clearer.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So there's an area that's not too far from Cindy's house that is a huge stand of lodgepole trees that are so close together you can barely get through them. You probably have to walk sideways through most of it. It's very thick, very straight. It's just like the fur on a dog's back. It's so close together. And she and I decided to go off and just kind of follow a little pathway through the trees, because there was a really nice game trail, and it was wide. I mean, you probably could have driven my Jeep through it. That's how wide this game trail was. And we started noticing that trees had been yanked up. They hadn't been cut down. They had been yanked up, and not by the root system, but actually kind of broke off at ground level all along to make this like a game trail that led to these structures of lodgepole that had been bent. And I really wish we had sent those photos. Cindy, did you send the photos of the longhouse and stuff?
I don't know, but I can send them to you right now. Would that be too late?
Did we lose them?
Sorry. I was just looking at comments and the thing. If you want to send them to me in my chat box, the messenger, I can put them on you.
Okay.
Can I send them to you on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook Messenger.
Okay, so Angelique, while you're talking, I'm gonna go get my phone and do that, okay?
Okay. So as we were going through the trees, we started noticing that there were little gaps in the lodgepole. Now, the lodgepole, all of the trees were healthy, they were in good condition, and they were all upright. But as you'd follow this game trail around, there would suddenly be a structure made out of the lodgepole that literally was set up almost like tents, but they were all interwoven and weaved. And as we were looking at them, we started noticing that you could literally crawl inside them, and inside them were bare patches where something was obviously sleeping in there, laying in there. And all along this game trail, there were these structures that ended up leading into this enormous structure that was probably 2 stories high, and I would say 1,500 square feet. It was absolutely enormous and the size of a house. And inside this structure, there were like multiple rooms. And I had told Cindy that, after, you live in traditional native way and stuff like that, to me, it looked like an encampment where you had each of the families had their own little lodges, and then it gets to the main one that we basically call the longhouse, which is where all of the families or the clan or the people meet. And then that's usually, in modern times now, it's where a powwow would be done, where the tribal elders would meet to discuss things. It was like basically the meeting hall, for most people. And we went ahead and we went into the structure to just kind of look for tracks. And all along we were finding where this enormous structure that looks like, to somebody who's not really paying attention, it might look like a snow load, like maybe the snow had bent over trees and they just wadded up and what have you. But we started noticing that the trees had been brought over there and weaved in. They hadn't just fallen over where they were at. The bases of them had no root system and had no holes where they had come out of. They had literally been brought there from some other place.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
Were some of the materials, whatever, made to build it? Were they not like right in that vicinity? Did they have to be carried in? Like,
I think they were carried from other areas around these like lodges. It was like they were yanking up the trees there and using them to wind into the structures. She's going to show you some photos here if you can. I don't know if you can bring them up yet or not. But
well, I'm going to have to go and download them onto my page and then bring them up, but we can do that.
Okay.
Are they
Go
sent?
ahead, Cindy.
I sent them to you. Sorry, I sent you one mass. So let me go back to what I sent you. It was the easiest thing to do, to send you a group of photos.
Okay.
Can you
I'll
pull
work
up
on it.
Can you pull up this photo?
Well, I'll just download them and I'll put them on my
Okay.
page. Well, I can't see what photo you're talking about, but I'll download the ones you're talking about. So was this
Okay.
way off the beaten path where you found this?
No, it was right at like maybe within a mile of your house, Cindy?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's within walking distance of her home.
No, but in a remote,
for
but not
sure.
by a campground or anything or nothing like that.
Oh, no. It's not like a Boy Scout troop one in there. I mean, it's quite frankly, you could tell that it was not done by humans.
Okay. Awesome. So keep talking about that, and I'm going to go and try to find these pictures and I'll put them up.
One of the things that happened to us was that we went into the structure and we immediately kind of felt like we were being watched. And she heard, didn't you hear a growl or something, Cindy? Like you heard something? Yes,
I heard a noise and it was time to go.
Yeah. And we said, okay, we're sorry, we're out of here. Whoops, And so we left immediately. But the very next day, we both were sick, sick, sick. And I mean, horrifically sick. I was sick for probably, gosh, how long was I sick? Probably a couple weeks even. Just
3
yeah,
weeks.
like 3 weeks where I was literally just vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. And she was, how long were you sick? You weren't as sick as long as I was, but you were still really sick.
I was
So,
dizzy like you were. We were both dizzy.
yeah.
We were both throwing up, but I think you threw up more than I did. And I
Oh, yeah.
just nauseous like all the time, vertigo feeling, kind of like that feeling that you get after you have when you've been hit like with infrasound or hit, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. You know, like usually that lasted like a couple of hours a day. This went on forever. And we thought, oh my God, what have we done?
Yeah, we did. That's exactly what we thought was, what did we do? Uh-oh. And that was one of the things that we realized as a team, that before you ever do anything like this, don't ever enter a structure without permission. You are still entering somebody's house. We entered somebody's house without permission, and it was the same thing as breaking and entering. And boy, we really dealt with the repercussions. And that is something that we've learned. That is something that we've learned, that when you do something that is disrespectful to their home, you will, in my case, I end up throwing up. I end up getting extremely nauseated and vomiting. And so that's,
I've never had that like for that long ever in my life. Even
yeah,
my
no,
husband
neither
will
have
tell
I.
you, he's like,
Yeah. Uh-oh.
he's like, you know, it
Everybody's
was like having vertigo better. And yeah, and then you'd get up and walk around, and then you'd be like, it was like, I've
was horrible.
never experienced that. But there's more to this than what we haven't told you yet. The mountain, Hoodoo Mountain, and this area is very thick with lore. There's a ton of spirits here. There's a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of unrest that come into the equation. There's Dogman around here. There's possible skinwalker. My son was chased. That's a whole other story that we haven't even got into. That's why I didn't want to spend so much time on the photo, because I wanted to get on to like this story. There was no explanation for how we felt. And up here, we have to apply where we live and the customs here where we live. And this is, you know, there's all these tribes around here, and that's just how it is, you know.
Yeah.
That is just how it is. And we go by that. We stress that, whether people agree with us or not. We stress the importance, because this is our lives. I have to live here.
Yeah.
Angelique has to live here. And if we're going to research, if we know or what we think is just respectful, we're going to adhere to those standards. Doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter. And I don't know anything about sound bowls, land grid clearing, and we brought in a girl. Her name is Tanya, and she's amazing. She came in with a friend named Dawn, and this is what they do. They do this at various places. They are all about harmony. They are all about, you know, great things, and having to work out any issues and how to resonate with the earth and with yourself and with creator. And so it all flows together. And we had a day of land clearing, and we found portals on my property. We found a mound in the back where Dawn felt very strongly that could be a burial ground of some. It was sacred, and that is a part of my property where I get lost. But here's the thing. Here comes Angelique. That afternoon, I had been with Dawn and Tanya all day clearing the land, and I called Angelique and I said, you have to come over here. Some amazing things are happening. We were laughing, we were crying. We had Tanya had sent some land spirits off to wherever. And then when Angelique came over, we did some more clearing of ourselves. I don't know how else to explain it to you. It was amazing. And that next day was the same thing. We were together again, and Angelique, she's gonna have to tell you what she saw because I saw it too.
Well, that was when Tanya and Dawn were doing the sound bowls, and it was literally the Tibetan sound bowls. Just, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the way that they sound, but they're just a beautiful, like a brass bowl, makes a beautiful tone. And I think it just resonates with a high frequency and very beautiful. And as she was doing it, I think it was Tanya. I asked Tanya to smudge me because that's something that I asked to do, something that I practice is smudging and cleansing, and as she was smudging me, her friend was running the sound bowl, and I looked over because I saw a movement out of the corner of my eye, and there was 3 tree peekers, and that's exactly what I call them because they were peeking from behind the trees at us, and I went, oh, you guys, they're right there. They're right there. And everybody just turned and looked, and they're all going, oh, I can see them. And I think, Cindy, actually, you took a photograph, and even though the photograph, you can't see detail, you can still see the shadow of them where they're standing in the trees. And yeah, it was just exciting to see that they just kind of came out with this like a not just a curiosity, but more like a happiness, almost like when a child comes out when you're playing music and they come out because they gather around the music. That was kind of what it was when she was running this sound bowl.
It's the ceremony and the high energy vibration of what you're doing, the laughter or and whatever that attracts them, for sure.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 of them. I think they're called, well, what I call them is Tibetan singing bowls.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Yep.
Yeah.
They loved it. And here's the thing, that feeling of love and acceptance was there. I felt it. I think you felt it. We were all going, hi. It's just, it was a great moment. And it was amazing. And that's what we strive for. That's what I want. I don't want to, spend too much time on stuff that is going to cause controversy or anything like that.
Right.
But it was just the feeling. And then what we did after that is we went up on top of the mountain. We repeated the same thing with the sound bowls, but Angelique and Tanya climbed this hill while me and Dawn stayed on the logging road below, and we all witnessed the tree knocking, which whatever that you want to call that. Yeah. There's different. We all heard it. We all witnessed it, and it was just magic. I don't know what else to tell you. It was amazing. This summer we've accomplished a lot individually, as a team. We've discovered things, and we know, and we take this very, very seriously. That's why we're not, I'm not afraid to talk about things that can be uncomfortable to a certain point. But this was just those 2 days were amazing. And I put on my Facebook page some photos from yesterday morning, and you can see him there in the trees. There's this big dude in the trees, and I was like, like, I'm gonna do me. I shared that photo because I was in the moment. I saw it. It's not 5 years later. I can confirm it, and then a lot of people saw it. Okay, great. And that happens over and over and over. It's insane. So, and we're going to continue to do that. And I'm sure there's going to be more hiccups along the way, but we do research with our traditions and our values, and we expect to not totally be understood or whatever, but we have our, what's the word? How you feel? What's that word? I had the word in my head. We have.
Uh-oh.
I went brain dead. We know what we're trying to accomplish, and we know it's not going to be easy, but we know they've chosen us because we're very open. Now, our families have had various experiences, and some of them weren't pleasant. So, and Angelique, okay, for an example, you have to tell them about that creek area where you had that encounter. That's an example of, like, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't want anything to do with that. I don't think they're trying to be pleasant coming through. They're not all going to be pleasant.
Well, how are we doing on time?
Oh, you're not familiar with pork and beans, are you? Easily can go for a long time.
Okay.
We can go for a while. Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
I know Cindy likes it when I tell this story, because this was an extremely large learning experience for me. It was one of those moments in my life that made me, that changed a lot of how I think about how I camp. So years ago, I was dating a guy, and he and I had this beautiful place that we used to go to along the Priest River. And it is an extremely difficult campground to get to. Most people don't even know that it exists because it's kind of hidden, and you have to have an extremely short wheelbase vehicle and 4-wheel drive to get in, because the road is just, you'll get swallowed up in the holes. And normally we would go in, and he had a pickup with a canopy on the back, and we would go in and we would camp in that canopy. And we had stayed there 2 times before and had seen red eye shine while we were camping. And thankfully, we never had any issues. We made sure the camp was all cleaned and everything. We'd sleep in the camper and never had any issues. Well, he ended up breaking his back in 14 places in a motorcycle wreck. And he was not only a miracle that he survived, but it was even more of a miracle that he could walk, because he should have been paralyzed from the neck down. Well, he not only could walk, but he was recovering very well, but he was in a turtle shell cast for a long time. And when he finally got to the point where he could kind of hobble around, he wanted to get out of the house. And you can just imagine what that would have been like, to be down for months and months. But he wanted to get out and go camping. Well, the pickup that he had was a lifted big truck, and there was no possible way that he could climb in it. It just couldn't happen. He was too debilitated when it came to that. So we opted for a Jeep Wrangler. That it was midsummer. We didn't have the top on. We didn't have the doors on, and we loaded it all up and went, you know what? We'll just sleep in a tent, and I'll put a nice big air mattress in there. You'll be nice and comfy. It's all good. Man, what a mistake. So, one of the issues that he had was he had extreme neuropathy from the back injuries, and he was And I was actually, I got to give him credit for this. He was not anybody that took pain meds. He did not like taking pain meds. And so he would try to tough it out until he literally couldn't handle it anymore. And when it got to that point, then he would go ahead and take like one pharmaceutical pain med, whatever that was. And I don't remember what it was, but when he did take it, because he wasn't used to taking it, it would knock him cold and he would sleep through the pain. So what had happened was, we were in this very tight little dark campground where nobody else was at for miles away on a bend of the river. And I went ahead, tucked him into bed. He took a pain pill because he couldn't handle it anymore, knocked himself out. I cleaned up the camp, put the fire out, made sure the garbage was all, burnt and everything, and had gotten rid of everything, climbed into the tent. Now, I did have a high-powered rifle with us. I had a 338 Ultra Mag. And and I had shot it quite a few times. It was his rifle, but I had shot. I had definitely shot it and was comfortable shooting it. It had a really nice break on it, because you can imagine the kickback without it. But and I had my Colt 45 under the pillow, so I had two weapons with me. He was sound asleep. I have spent countless years staying in the wilderness, even by myself. I stayed in the Sierra Nevadas in a wall tent at the summit of a mountain by myself for almost a month. So camping by myself, I'm experienced. I have no issues with it. I'm perfectly fine. I crawled into bed, didn't think anything of it, and went to sleep. Well, I was woken up probably around 2:00 in the morning. Now, this is midsummer, so there's probably a good hour and a half before it was going to start getting light again. And I crawled into bed and woke up to the sound of twigs snapping. Now, my first impulse and thought was, oh, great, it's a bear or it's a moose or something, because we're right there on the water's edge. And all I could think of is, oh, great, here I am in this tent with him. He's knocked out, and if we got a bear, I got to take care of it myself, which is fine. But it was like, this isn't good. Well, I'm laying there in bed and I'm just listening to the sounds of twigs snapping, and I'm thinking, man, that sounds really big. Maybe it's a moose. Okay, so it's a moose. We're on the water coming through, whatever. Just as long as it leaves us alone, doesn't try to mess with the tent, we're all good, Then I started hearing what sounded like a chainsaw going off in the woods a long ways away. And I remember thinking, who the heck is dumb enough to run a chainsaw in the middle of the night? I mean, you're going to kill yourself,
And summertime too.
Yeah. And here exactly. Fire hazard. And I'm sitting here thinking, who is doing that? And then it changed its tone a little bit. And I went, uh-oh, that's not a chainsaw. That's something growling. And I'm going, okay, now I have a problem, because whatever it is angry. And I'm thinking, okay, this is where I realized what an absolute idiot I was, because I put the back end of the tent facing the woods and the door facing the river. I should have turned that tent around and faced the woods and kept my back to basically safety. I didn't do that. So I'm hearing behind us, off in the trees in the dark, this pacing back and forth, heavy footfalls, and this growling and just this guttural. And then it started progressively getting worse and louder and louder. And I'm laying there in bed going, we're going to die. I can't wake him up, and I'm trying to shake him, going, wake up, wake up, wake up. And he's dead to the world with his pain meds. And so then I'm feeling around in the dark and going, I didn't even put a stupid flashlight in the tent. I had no way of being able to see anything. It was pitch dark. And then I start getting this, I can hear it just rush the back of the tent, where it would get right up to the back end of the tent. And it would have this, the only way to describe it is just this snotty, gurgling snarls in between each of its breaths. Like it was like, instead of just a, growl and then stop, it was growl, gurgle, growl, and I'm going, oh my gosh. And it's like literally right behind my head through the canvas on the tent. And I'm going, we're going to die. We're going to get ripped to shreds by a bear or whatever this is. And then it would rush back into the trees again, and it would disappear. And then it would come back again to the back of the tent, and it bluff charged like, I don't even know how many times, because I started hearing things hit the back of the tent. And that's when I was going, this isn't a bear. Bears don't throw things at you, and neither do whatever else this could be. And I'm going, what do I do? And I'm feeling around in the dark, and I'm not kidding. I was so panicked that I'm holding onto the rifle and I'm feeling around, and I couldn't remember how to chamber a bullet. I couldn't remember if I didn't know where the safety was at. I'm literally feeling this rifle in the dark going, I don't know how to use it. I'm completely rendered useless, and didn't even remember that the 45 was under my pillow. Not like that would have done any good. Right. I don't, but still I'm feeling this rifle, and I'm going, I can't even chamber around. I don't even know if there's bullets in it. I don't even know where the bullets are. I don't have a flashlight. I'm literally laying there expecting at any given moment for the tent to cave in on top of this. And of course, the guy I was with, he's snoring. And I'm, and obviously I can tell the difference between growling and snoring. He's over there sound asleep. And I honestly, I'm kind of torn between two different things. Was I hit with some kind of infrasound, or did I literally just become so terrified that I passed out? But I remember blinking and waking up, and the sun was shining over my head through the tent, and the noises were still going on behind me through the trees. They were still pacing back and forth and growling. And at that point in time, I'm thinking, okay, it's daylight. I can see now. It's up to me. I got to do it. And I grab the gun, and now I can actually see it. So I unzip, and now I got to come through the door and turn around the corner and look behind me. And I've got the barrel out of the tent first, and I'm making my way, and all I did was just literally crawl on my knees until I could get around. And I'm looking, and I'm holding the rifle, and I don't see anything. Nothing. I see nothing. And I'm still hearing it. I'm still hearing it growl and snarl and pace back and forth. And I can hear it over here. And then I can hear it move. And then it's over here. And I'm holding the rifle, and I'm literally just focused on one object and trying to see with my peripheral vision see if there's any movement with my peripheral vision that I can catch and be able to turn. Nothing, not one thing. And then here I am, and we're talking, this was an area of the woods that was probably, it was open probably a good 25 yards. I mean, you could see back at least 25 yards, and the noises that were coming were closer than that.
Right.
But I could not see them. And I'm holding the rifle, and I hear my boyfriend at that time, I hear him mull around and kind of moan and groan because he's waking up and obviously in pain again. And as soon as he made noise, everything stopped. And I'm holding the rifle, and I'm literally just like going, where is it? Where is it? Nothing. Then he crawls out of the tent, and he literally crawls out through the door. And the first thing he wanted to do was go off in the trees to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, you are not going over there. And he's like, just let me, and he's getting irritated because he's in pain. And I'm like, you're not going over there. And we had this little debate.
I'm picturing this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, we had a debate, and I won. But he wanted the full meal deal with the camping trip. And he's like, would you make some bacon and eggs? And I'm like, hell no, I'm not making bacon and eggs. No, I said, we're loading up and we're going into town. We'll have breakfast in town, but I'm not staying here. And he was so mad at me. And I literally had to like force him into the Jeep. Now, this is a Jeep that had no doors, no top on it. And to crawl out of that campsite, you had to put it in low gear and let it basically idle out of there.
Right.
And I was with the rifle in between. My head's on a swivel. We're rolling out of there after it took me what seemed like forever to load up camp and break down. I'm waiting at any given moment for something to bail through the side of the Jeep and get us. Never saw anything. Never saw anything.
Can I ask a quick question? So,
sure.
After your ex-boyfriend woke up, did the whatever it was? I mean, do you know what it was, by the way?
No, I could not see it.
Did it ever make any more noise or make itself known after your ex-boyfriend woke up?
Nope.
Wow. Nope. That was a show for you.
Yep. As soon as he woke up, it all stopped. Now, later on, now I'm telling you, this absolutely traumatized me at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had to stay there. I couldn't leave him. I couldn't leave the guy that I was with. I knew that if I tried to drag him out of there sound asleep, I could possibly injure him all over again. And so I couldn't leave. I had to stay there with the thought in mind that whatever happens is going to happen, but I'm going to do the best I can, later on. And now I have come to the point where I have begun to realize that this could have quite possibly been a forest being that was checking to see exactly what I would deal with.
It's true.
To see if I had enough guts to deal with it and not, I guess, I don't know what, but for some reason, that's the feeling I get now, is that I was being tested.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense that you passed?
I have no idea because I was terrified. I don't know if that's passing or not.
I've always felt that they want to test your mettle. That was quite an extreme example, but they want to test your fear level, because then they won't interact with you or teach you past your fear level.
Yeah, truth.
That's true. That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
And the other thing is just a second, Cindy. The other thing is you can hear you can hear a loud sound or any, like I said, any sensory, visual, or audible experience or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean it's right there. They can just throw sound and they can put it in your field of perception, but it doesn't mean that individual was right there. It could have just been having you experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it could have very well have been something that was just presented to me basically through almost like a clairvoyance almost. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Did things change after that? Did things
Well,
escalate, or did your relationship, or whatever you want to say at that point, did it change dramatically?
after that is when I started having more and more experiences with dogmen, rather, and also with the forest people. But it was on that my ex-boyfriend's property that he had an encounter with a dogman. So, but it was nowhere near where this camp out was. But things did start happening more and more with, I guess, kind of with a lot of different things after that. But yeah, that was an experience I will never forget. And I want to make sure that if your listeners, please, if you ever go camping, make sure you have a flashlight in the tent. Your door is facing, the back of your tent is facing the safe zone. Your vehicle's pointed out.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I did wrong that time. And please don't ever take something that will knock you out when you're out in the woods, because even if it had been a squirrel that attacked us, he was out of it. He would have been injured by a squirrel. Okay. But yeah. So
we had a comment from somebody in the group, and this is a very good possibility too. Sometimes they have sensitive stuff going on. They just don't want you around.
Truth.
Yeah, true. And it could have been a child. It could have been a baby. I mean,
yeah, could be a nursery or something, or just you were just too close to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Something very sensitive going on. But the main thing is that they didn't hurt you, right?
No, they did not.
So yeah, so I wanted to ask you, so your interactions with dogmen and Sasquatch, how do the interactions with dogmen and Sasquatch differ, and what do you think how are they different in the way that they interact, or
with each other, or with us?
With you to start with people. What is the difference between the interaction with dogmen with people and Sasquatch and people, and what do you think are the main differences between them other than their looks?
I think dogmen are much more disrespectful, and I think they come with a more of a darker, lower frequency, I guess. I have never felt, when I've been in the presence of a dogman, that I was in a safe zone, or that I could communicate with them on a level that would be respected. Now, I know of many people who have told me that they have carried on communication with them and that they have relationships with them. But for myself, I have only felt danger when I've been in their presence.
So are you a dog person?
Yes. I have always had dogs, and I've worked with wolves before. I used to work in for a wolf sanctuary. So I've been around wolves for many years. And so, dogs and wolves, I resonate with quite a bit, but
right.
This is a being that I try to stay far away from.
Let me ask you, as far as the Sasquatch goes, because this has happened to me a few times. I've actually been rescued out of the woods by them. Do you feel that where your relationship is with them now, do you think that they would rescue you or protect you in their environment?
I believe so. Yes. I believe so. Yes.
Awesome. Yes. You think so too, Cindy?
Yes. But like she said, I think I have one that has come around. I think I've got an audio of one. I'll find it and send it to you. I would not, you couldn't pay me $50,000, well, maybe, to camp out in the back of my woods by myself. It's really funny. I tried to get everyone to sleep outside, but this past summer, but everybody wanted to sleep in their vehicles because it's what we do up here, because there's bears, there's grizzlies there. So the way we camp out up in the woods is, well, like in an RV or in our vehicles. And then we'll like leave audio recorders out, because like how I used to do it is in a tent in the South. And usually in the South, we research in the months of October into like possibly, just depending on the weather, what the weather is, because then all the bugs and the snakes are gone. But we would sleep in our tents, like in the big thicket, and we would leave our audio recorders outside, and then we'd gather them the next day, and then hear whatever evidence or whatever audios that we got. But up here, it's a little different. You have to be really careful. So when we go to a location, we just sleep in our vehicles. So.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, do you think if you were in a situation that the Sasquatch would protect you? Because that's my experience with my clan. I've actually, like I said, I got lost in the woods, and they rescued me, and it was an amazing experience.
Could you tell us that? Go ahead, Cindy. But I'd love to hear that. I would love to hear that.
Well, you can buy my book and read it.
So,
okay.
I will.
No. I'll tell it to you. I'll tell it to you. Do you want to really hear it?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, sure.
I've talked about it before, but sure. Oh God. Oh yeah. Thank you. That's the one that's not the re-edited one though, Kevin.
No, it's not. You've not sent that one to me yet.
Yeah.
This is the uncorrected version.
Nice.
Yeah, there were a few major errors in that. There was one paragraph that, like, half the paragraph was missing. I don't know what happened, but whatever. Anyway, it's still pretty good though.
It is. It's actually a good book. It's got a lot of great stuff in
it. Okay, so I'll tell you this, and this is once again, it speaks of a bunch of different elements and I've never had a bad, and I'm not saying that people don't, and there are different reasons for these experiences, like testing your metal, and I've had them test my metal before, but I've never had a bad experience with them. It's always been all truly loving and family kind of thing, like they call me family, call me brother, stuff like that. So anyway, my wife used to live in Oregon. Now she's finally up here. We're finally together. But I used to work a graveyard shift, which was a 12-hour shift. And then I would drive all the way from Vancouver to Oregon right afterwards without any sleep. So I'm up for like 20 hours or so. And I don't know how I made it all the time. I'm surprised I didn't get killed.
Especially for someone as old as you.
And yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
Thanks for reminding me, Kevin. By the way, Mr. Beans is older than me, and he probably slept in the whole show.
I'm sure he did. He fell asleep.
Which is good. It's nice not having him around for a change. Maybe I'll make you the new host.
Yeah, okay. How'd my name get back to Kevin? Did you change it?
No, you skipped out and then you came back. Why, do you want to be Beep Wellington again?
No. By the way, I apologize. My internet went out, and that's why I dropped.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Oh well, people are going to know who you are now. Okay, so anyway, to make a long story, well, I can't make it super short, but a little shorter. I'm extremely exhausted when I get there, and it usually takes me a whole day to recover the next day. Like, I just don't feel like doing much. But anyway, Sue and I decided we were going to go out and check out one of her areas the next day, in a wilderness area, and or not one of her areas, just someplace close by, because the Sasquatch are all over the place. So as soon as I got out of the car, I saw a couple of glyphs, and one of the glyphs was like two peel sticks side by side, right, placed beside each other, snapped and peeled. And I said, oh, okay, great, they're here. So I knew right away that the Sasquatch were around. And so that was very important that I saw those glyphs. And we're going along a little bit further on our walk. And then Sue decides she's going to go way up this slope, way up the side of a hill. And I said, I'm yelling up to her, I'm not going up there. I was too tired, right? I just didn't have the energy, and I'm not going up there, damn it, whatever. But I'm a little hearing impaired, so she was currently yelling back to me, just hang on, I'll be back, or I'll be coming right down. But I didn't hear that, so I just said, screw this. Thought to myself, so I just decided I was going to go back to the car and wait for her. Right. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I started heading back to the car, and all of a sudden I find out I'm lost. I don't know where I am.
Uh-oh.
So I didn't know, I couldn't find the car. And so I'm going around for about 2 or 3 hours up these it seemed like 2 or 3 hours, a couple hours anyway, up these roads and down mountain roads and all over the place. And I'm not recognizing anything. And it's late fall. And at one point I'm thinking, you know what? I'm not going to make it out of here. I've got to find some firewood and get ready to probably stay here for the entire night, because I don't know where the hell I am, and there's nobody around, and I don't know where I am. So at one point I came to a little open area, and there were trails angling off in, I think, 3 directions. And when I got there, I said, guys, you've got to help me. I'm lost. You've got to help me get out of the woods, get back to Sue. I verbally expressed that. So I asked them for their help. So then I started heading up this one trail. I picked one of the trails, and I start heading up, and I'm going up there, and I say, I don't recognize anything. I'm lost. I was just about to head back and turn around when I saw 2 peeled sticks on the path, like the ones I saw when I initially went in, right?
Hmm.
And I thought, oh, great, I'm back. Because at this point I was pretty confused or whatever, but I saw those 2 sticks that I had seen earlier in the day, and I said, awesome, I'm back. I'm just about near the car, because they were placed right by where the car was, right? So seeing those 2 sticks made me go on. If I hadn't seen those, I would have turned around. It was just at the point of the decision of turning around when I saw the sticks that encouraged me to go forward. Okay, so about 30 seconds or so after that, I see the top of the hill. There's a road, and I see my wife slowly cruising by in the car, right? And I yell up to her, Sue, Sue, and she stopped. And when I got up to her, I said, thank God I found my way back to the car. And she said, what do you mean? We're like a mile, you're a mile and a half away from it. And right? So, and she also said that just before she was cruising by, something was holding her back on the road. She stopped, and she was, don't go yet, don't go yet, don't go yet. She was getting that idea. Then all of a sudden it was like, go. And so the perfect timing, just as she was going, just as I saw the sticks that I thought were in the original location, we meet up. So they were guiding her, telling her when to go to find me. And they were guiding me by putting those 2 sticks there that I recognized that encouraged me to go forward. Otherwise I wouldn't have. So
wow.
They 100% rescued me.
That's
wow,
awesome.
That's amazing. And yes, I do think that in any situation that they would help us. Like you said, if you're open to clues, I think so too. I had a situation where so there's other stuff around here, and the lore is intense, and it's real. And there's evil stuff around here, and we have to deal with that. So when you have to decipher what's what, it can get really, really nerve-wracking. I mean, the mountain is called Hoodoo Mountain, okay? And there's a lot of just different examples that I can give you. But when my children were young, especially my youngest one, and he would take off on his dirt bike or on the 4-wheeler, he would come home and say, Mom, you know what? We had to stop up on Hoodoo Mountain because these trees were shaking. And then they just like got scared and they took off. Now, what that was, I have no idea. But my son has been camping by himself. This one night he heard something heavy walking. He could hear it coming. He could feel it laying on the wood floor, the forest, in his tent. And he said it stopped and it started making this like a pterodactyl sound. Like, what? I don't know anything about that. And he said it circled his tent and then it left. So those are examples that we're dealing with other stuff out here, and it makes it just that much more, to filter out stuff. That's why we have to be really careful what we do, what we say, what we teach people, because we're learning ourselves and we take it very seriously. Our culture does, my culture, her culture, but we also have the knowing part. Like I can see photos, I can see things, and I don't even have to tell people, they can see it. And then there's things that are more obvious than other things. And then Angelique can communicate with them like through the glyphs. I can't do that. I will receive a feeling.
Yes, you can.
Well, I haven't, put that to, I haven't achieved that level yet. But
No, it's not a level.
Yeah.
It's not a level.
Okay.
You just make the intent of leaving a glyph.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You just tell them, this is me. You just do some kind of little design, doesn't matter what it is, just your intention, and just leave it. Just say, this is me, and I'd like to introduce myself through that. And then they interact with you. It's not a level.
Okay.
Or anything like
Well,
that.
I have not done that yet, but my thing is audios. I love audios, and I've captured some crazy ones, and I have captured some amazing moments, like, where I can see something, but I know there's no way I'm going to get proof of it. And then other times I can feel them coming in, like yesterday, and I looked outside and I just, I'm sure of that moment. I'm sure of the photo I took. I know. It's like, I know, there's no second guessing it, or there's no anything weird about it. But there's the area where we live here. There's other things here as well. But it's ancient here. Everything here is just ancient, and you can feel it. But you can also feel like that love. Like, I love my husband, I love my children. Those are different types of love. Now, I can feel this love when they come around. There is a female I haven't really talked to y'all about, but I heard her when I first moved here. I was out feeding the horses, and my husband's, who was active duty at the time, his unit, he got a phone call. They were basically going to go to overseas, and I went to go feed the horses. This was in like 05 or 06. And I was freaked out, because of, I didn't live here long enough. To me, this wasn't home. In my head, all these things were going through my head, and I was crying a little bit, and I heard like a female cooing in the back, and she has
Uh-oh.
You cut out.
come around maybe like, what happened?
You cut
Can
out.
you hear me?
We can now.
He was cooing.
So there's a female that has come around, and I've given her a name, and I don't know if that's her name. It just popped in like Keela, Keela. And that was when I started recognizing like that feeling. And I saw her like one time at night when I was outside. We had buried a dog, and I was just really sad we cry when our pets die, but this was just extra bad. And I just couldn't, I was just crying, and then I could feel her and come around, and then I looked up and I saw her like an acre back in the woods. She had like glowing eyes that were emanating, but it wasn't like evil, it was, I could feel her. I don't know how else to, it was beautiful. And then she turned around and left, and then I was like, I felt so much better, and I went inside and I sat down for a long time, and I thought about that, and I thought, dang,
she was showing you support for your loss. They've done that with me too. When my mother died and different things, they let you know that they care.
Yes.
So that's why she was
now that's here. Yeah, I get that here, but when I go somewhere else, it's just not the same. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been greeted by them all over the place, and it's never bad, but it's not as intense as here because this is my own. But I think that I've always been of the opinion, and experience tells me this is true too, is that if you're known by one Sasquatch clan, they will all know you. Now they may not be as open or as friendly or whatever, but they will still respect you for that relationship.
I agree on that very, very, very much. I've found that I've proven that when I went back to where I was, I thought, you were afraid for what? Just like so stupid. I also believe that we create situations to where if they're, like you said, if you catch them in a moment and they're not happy, they will express their ways, and it might not be pleasant for us, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're trying to like, oh, we're going to get you. No, they're people just like us. We have feelings. We have bad days. We have our good days, just like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had experiences with my First Nations friend, or I guess call Indigenous people, Native people, First Nations up here, and where we felt like we were walking through a force field or whatever, or something, or like we, and it was, because we were in a sensitive area or something, And,
so,
but it was never bad or whatever, but it felt like, we could hardly walk, and we've been zapped and stuff and all kinds of stuff like that, but never in a bad way. As a matter of fact, some of those zaps weren't even related to sensitive situations or whatever. They were just, it could be an energy download or something too, or something, or a universal download or something of that nature. But but they definitely, if they don't want you around, they will let you know, and it's not.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And they've also done things like, one thing I've learned is, like where I sleep, not in here, but in my house, my bedroom, there's a trail that goes from the woods underneath my window, and it goes back in the woods, and it's a heavily traveled area. I believe that many times they'll just do that and like do this walk, and they'll just go. And I've seen things like with the left, like, in your side vision. One time I was outside, and I just saw something run in the back, and it was not a deer, but it was like a black flash. They move. Who knows what that was? I mean, I don't know. But we have been on for 3 hours, and I have to go. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I gotta be
I
gotta be at work at 5 a.m.
I was just gonna. Can I just ask you girls one more question, and then can you stay on for 10 more minutes?
Sure.
Have you ever had have they ever materialized out of thin air for you, or done anything like that, or have you seen them in different forms? I know that Angelique said, or was it you Cindy. You saw them in the predator form.
Predator.
But I've seen them like materialize right out of thin air. Have you ever had anything like that?
Yes, she has to tell you what happened to the other area. You know, the banana tree area. The banana peel, Angelique, that one, that the mom and the teenager.
With the mom and the baby. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was on a back road, just kind of tooling around on an old logging road on a real flat, basically just kind of a little, not really a meadow because it had been logged and there were a lot of trees there, but I was coming down this logging road and I was literally just chuckling along at just an idle in my Jeep. And I noticed that I saw this flash of black ahead of me. And I thought for a second, I was like, that's a bear. And so I stopped because, you know, I mean, hey, yeah, that's it. Of course you're going to stop to look. And I realized that there was this real healthy, at that time, like a bull pine that had fallen parallel to the road. But the road came around at a bend behind it. Well, I came up at that bend and I could see behind that tree. So when I could see behind it, there was this black, huge, enormous black, and my first thought was, that is the biggest bear I have ever seen in my life standing behind this fallen tree. And so I stopped, and when I stopped, I was staring at it, and in my head I was trying to decide what I was going to do, because I'm sure you guys have probably experienced it, but when in any back road situation, if you're coming down a road and you see a bear that's within probably 8 feet of the road, because this is about where this was at, if you stop, it's going to make that bear nervous and it's going to leave, you know. This one was staying there, and I thought, well, that's odd. Normally bears are going to take off. Well, it started moving in an odd way. It started kind of rocking.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that is not normal. A bear would not do that. What? And then it kind of dawned on me what was going on. So I stopped and I really just focused on it. And I realized what I was seeing was the side of a woman who had her hands on both sides of her face like this. Now I'm looking at her from this side, and what I could see was the side of her head, down her shoulder, very large breast, down her side, and her rump. And she was squatted down behind this tree, and she was sitting kind of rocking back and forth like this. Not severely, just kind of almost like she was trying to keep her feet from falling asleep. You know, it wasn't a severe rock. It was just kind of a shifting. Mm-hmm. And so when I realized what was going on, I had already, at that point in time, I'd had many sightings at that time, and I had already been working with the native elders, and the elders had told me, if that happened to you, you stop and you ask permission and, you know, apologize and talk to them.
Yes.
So I rolled down the window and I put my head out and I just said, I see you, and I am not going to take your picture. I had my camera with me. I'm not going to take your picture. I'm just passing through, and I just want to let you know that I'm just going to go by and I'm going to leave. And kind of, you know, I can't remember if I asked if I could have permission or if I just kind of told her that that's what I was doing. And I stopped, and as I was sitting there trying to decide what I should do, I started seeing like this shimmering where her rump was at, and it was like the dark. And I keep goofing up and saying fur because from a distance it looked like a bear. Okay, she looked like a bear from a distance. That was how black in color she was. And this shimmering started moving like a quakey bush, like those aspens, the Alaskan quakies is what we always called them. When we were up in Alaska, we just called them quakies. And it's as it was moving up her rump and going up her body, it started changing color, and it became what looked like a quakey, one of those Alaskan quakies. And so I looked at her and I'm realizing, okay, oh my gosh, what am I looking at? That was the very first time that has ever happened to me. And I didn't really know how to take it, but I went, okay, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to chuckle on forward. And I have to stop for just a second. There was like this feeling of almost like, okay, you can come through. Like, it's okay for you to come through. We're going to let you go through. And it was almost like a peaceful, it's okay. And I lost that kind of anxiety feeling that I had of, what do I do? What do I do? But I did kind of idle forward, and I'm thinking, if this changes, as I get close, because I'm going to pass right in front of this tree, parallel with it. If this changes, I want to be able to turn around and get out of there or punch it and go. But it didn't change. And as I was slowly passing, I looked over at the tree and I didn't see her anymore. I did not see her. But what happened was suddenly this little head popped up, this literally gray colored little head, and just the upper part of his shoulders popped up above the tree. And I realized I was looking at a little boy, at a little kid. I was looking at a little kid.
A little human kid?
Like, no, not a human kid. But I was realizing I was looking at her child.
Wow.
And
How
he
cool
was
is that?
he was gray, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about him again. He was gray, and he had just these big eyes. And I remember he just for a second just looked at me like, what, what are you? And then he glanced over at her like she had said something. I didn't hear anything, but he glanced over at her, and then he just ducked back down again, like, uh-oh. And I'm like, okay, she probably just said, hey, get down here. And so I was still just kind of going, oh, and I'm still idling past, and I'm trying to look at him. And then I realized there was this dark thing at the end standing, and it was this young woman, and she looked like she was also very dark in color, and she had a very shy kind of very feminine. She had a very feminine energy about her, and she just kind of reminded me of Australian, like an Aboriginal girl. She looked very ethnic, but she didn't look non-human. She looked like an ethnic human, but she did not look non-human. And she had a very, like I said, just a very feminine and soft ness about her. And she too kind of looked over and then just kind of hungered down. And I just went, oh, wow.
I mean, you are so blessed. You are
wow.
So blessed.
But I will tell you that it was not very long after that. I was so excited. I called Cindy that night. I'm like, Cindy, you'll never guess what happened. Oh my gosh. And I shared with her what happened. And of course, she was immediately going, take me out there. I want to go see that place. And so it was like very soon
Following
thereafter,
day.
it was like the very next day. Excuse me, I took her out there, and I parked right there at the tree, and I said, okay, we're going to get out, we're going to look for tracks. And we got out and we went behind that tree and realized that there were bare spots in the ground behind that tree where they had been hunkering down so often and watching things go by on the road, parallel to the road. And there were these piles of bones, and the bones were everywhere, but they were in piles of not like what it, let me tell you a little bit about working with wolves. Okay. What my job was to feed the wolves at that sanctuary. So what I learned about wolves is they will rip off a chunk and then they'll go over and they'll sit down,
Right.
they'll chew on it, and then they'll go back, rip off a chunk and go back to that same spot. Now it was kind of like that, in that there were little sort of piles of bones, miscellaneous bones, like there would be a vertebrae, a shoulder bone, and a leg bone, all in a pile. And then over here, a few feet away, you'd find another little pile. But what's different is that with a canine or a bear, they're going to pulverize that bone.
Yeah.
They're going to just sit and gnaw it until it's gone. And that's what any canine I've ever worked with, even my own dog used to do that. If I gave it a knuckle bone, it would just pulverize it until it was basically gone. These had been sucked on. And the knuckle part of the bone, now these are big leg bones, okay? These are off of either a moose or an elk. It was a very large animal. And the knuckle areas is what I call it, the joint areas, had kind of been almost just kind of knocked off, and the marrow had been sucked out like a straw, like it was literally like a hollow tube where it had been sucked out. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to suck marrow out of a bone, but you got to really, really work at it, and you're not going to get a hole. You're just going to get like kind of a little spongy looking area, but it's not going to be a hole. This was like a hole that went straight down, and it had been sucked out like a straw.
Wow.
And all of them had been sucked clean, but not pulverized. So Cindy and I, here we are walking around, and we're looking at all this, just going, oh my gosh, I can't believe what we found. Probably within maybe would you say about 20 yards from where that tree had fallen, there was this.
Oh no!
The banana tree. I'm going to have you talk about the banana tree.
Okay, so after we saw all that, we felt like we needed to continue down this trail, if you want to call it that, because what I have here on my property is the 16-foot breaks. It's always at least 16 feet above the breaks, and there's always like a reason it's pointed to something, but there's like a pattern. There's always patterns. That's one thing I've noticed. But at this location, we found a huge tree broken off, your typical tree broken off. So then we kept going. We found another. We found like 2 or 3, and then we kept going. And then we found this weird tree that it wasn't broken down. It wasn't snapped down. It wasn't broken. It was, and it's in that photos that I sent you, if the audience wants to go see it.
Oh no.
No, not now.
I got those photos. I'm looking at the exact one you're talking about.
Like a banana.
Yeah, I know. I see it.
You cut out.
Okay.
You know that, Cindy?
What?
You cut out. You know that? We heard about the banana.
Angelique's going to have to tell you, because my she's going to have to tell you, because my internet is just keeps freezing up. You're going to have to tell him.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly show you this. This is it, right?
Not yet.
I can't see it.
You have a black. There it is.
Yep, there it is. There it is.
This is my favorite picture that you showed. This is fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Now, we have had a lot of people tell us, oh, that was a lightning strike. No, I walked completely around this tree. And anytime you see a lightning strike, you're going to see where the bark has been blown off. You're going to see burn patches that go all the way to the ground. And this didn't have that. It had literally, it was a double topped tree.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
So,
can you hear me? Okay, sorry about that. And the other
Okay.
had gone to the other. They were perfectly split in half.
yeah, that's great.
Oh man, you guys have some fantastic
Okay,
experiences.
so I just wanted to ask you in closing, you know, I consider my relationship with the Sasquatch to be a teacher-student relationship. So have they, is that what you guys figure you have? And what, just quickly, because I know, you know, we're running on, I mean, I've gone on forever on this show, but I know you guys want to go, but do you have a teacher-student relationship with them, and what are they teaching you? And how has your life changed since they have come into your life? So maybe we'll go with Cindy and then Angelique quickly.
So I think for me, the biggest thing is where I come from. I have learned to be a lot more open and optimistic, and I've learned that the more I awaken, which actually started happening like in 2010, more so like with the events of the world, they're teaching me like that's a lie. Like I will go into the woods and I will ask them. I mean, it doesn't mean I get an answer all the time, but because I'm still learning. So yes, I would say that we are it's like a teacher, or I'm actually just starting to go that route when really we've been doing that all along. We just haven't said it out loud. We haven't acknowledged it, but that really is what we are doing. We're trying to, because we are not trying to prove anything. We're just trying to learn from them. So we just, yeah. So, I mean, yes, I guess so. But for me, it's just waking up and, you know, you learn truths, and you learn the truths about all the crappy things that are going on right now, the things they're trying to do to us. Yeah, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll get on the phone, and then I'll hear like twigs breaking in the back, and then I got that feeling like, yeah, right. So
they're just waking you up to what's going on in the world and whatever. Are they teaching any universal truths or whatever about connection and whatever, anything like that?
Oh yes. And you know, we have, I feel like I'm just starting, because I feel like I've been doing it all along, and I'm going like, and it's like the more that happens, the more they just like try to come through. Like, and there's just so much. We could talk for like 4 more hours and between her.
You know what? We're gonna have to have another show with you guys, because I just feel like there's a whole lot that we haven't been able to get to. But yeah. So go ahead, finish your thought.
I mean, that's just basically it. I also have another clan that I don't know if I'd say I work with them, but they're off the Columbia River on the Spokane Reservation, and we camp there, our women's camp out, and everybody made me promise. There was some Spokane tribal people there that would come with us, some of these ladies, and they were all young, and we had this one event happen. One did come up on the ridge, and I showed them, and they looked up, because it's a long story, but they played a trick on me. I don't like clowns, and I showed up at camp, and somebody dressed as a clown, and they were chasing me, and it was dark, and I was screaming. But I knew it was a joke. So I said, I'm gonna get y'all back. And this is after 10 years of going there every summer, well, most summers. But I just asked them to come in and kind of like just make some noise and like play a trick on everybody. And they kind of did that. They ran through the edge of the campfire, and they were shaking up trees, and I was laughing. And they did scare some people. I don't But it's just, but I looked up, I could feel, I looked up on the ridge and one was standing there and like 25 people witnessed that. And after that, nobody has tried to play any clown pranks on me again.
Smart.
Awesome. How about you, Angelique? Do you have a teacher-student relationship with them? What are they teaching you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think they've been teaching me many, many things, but one of the things primarily that has been really focused on for me is to make sure that people, that when we present what we're presenting to our people, that we're letting our people know the injustice that has happened to their kind throughout all of history, throughout all of, throughout everything, the ages. And really in the day and age that we have reached with this whole racism thing, we need to also be thinking too that we can't be racist about them either. They are and deserve our respect, and
100%.
for
Yes.
us to be treating them the way that they have needed and deserve to have been treated all along, which is with respect and honor.
Beautiful. So, I host, actually, Mr. Wellington is coming up. I host a camp out in September called the RE and Family Camp Out. And if you ladies want to come up and join us, you're quite welcome. It's by invitation of the Sasquatch clan up here. I just facilitate it. So.
Where?
You guys,
Where?
in British Columbia.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In Canada. September 18th to the 23rd. 5 days,
23rd.
5 nights. And my clan usually always comes to, whatever you kind of need or whatever, they seem to provide it for each individual on an individual basis. So, we've had healings there. We've witnessed all kinds of just amazing stuff. And it's always a beautiful thing. So you're more than welcome if you guys want to attend. And
Okay.
I just want to say in closing, and by the way, we want to have you back for sure, because I think we just scratched the surface with you guys. But just in closing, just be really strong in your truth and in representing them, because they're connecting with you for a reason. They want their truth shared or whatever. So don't let anybody, to reiterate, don't let anybody tell you, like these people who just want to argue for argument's sake or
I have no interest in that.
Just don't even, it's not important. Just,
right.
they're not at that understanding, and
right.
it's because Sasquatch aren't connecting with them. So don't let their lack of understanding put a damper on what you guys are doing. Just keep going. Don't water anything down. Just speak the truth.
I am trying and learning.
Yeah. Okay, well, guys. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, and can we have you on again sometime, because I think you guys got a lot more stories, and we'll.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we also, obviously, and we also once in a while we just have a round table thing where we just discuss stuff and banter back and forth, and we'll invite you to some of those too. All right. Well,
thank you.
Thanks for coming on. So
Thanks,
on behalf
of
Port Cunningham and my guest co-host, the eloquent, the handsome, and the debonair Beef Wellington, this has been the Pork and Bean Show. And thank you to Angelique and Cindy and Sasquatch Sisters Northwest, is it?
Yes.
Yes. And we, really quick, we do have a Facebook page. It is Sasquatch Sisters Northwest. It's a safe place where anyone can come and tell us their story, make a comment. You can also email us and it's all spelled out, to Sasquatch Sisters Northwest.
That's a long email address.
gmail@gmail.com. Yes. And we do have a YouTube channel that Angelique, that's her thing. So you can also find us on YouTube.
Yeah,
She
you
can
guys got to
probably
check
tell
out my
you.
YouTube channel if you want. Are you members
I
of my
have.
Yeah.
I have. Yes.
How about you, Angelique? Do you...
I probably have. Like I said, while I'm at work, I put on the podcast and just let them play.
All righty. Okay,
Yeah.
guys, thanks for showing up. And I guess Mr. Beans is, well, he's old, you can't blame him.
It's just bedtime.
Thank you.
Good night, you
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Okay.
And thanks to everybody for tuning in and watching. And we'll have you back. And like I said, you're invited to come up here if you want. So I give you plenty of warning. So we'll keep in touch and we'll talk about that.
Okay. And thank you very much. We value your opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Not an opinion, it's a fact. No, I'm just
Right.
joking.
We're not worthy.
I'm joking. Okay.
Okay.
See you guys.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together?
Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather.
Happy trails to you till we meet again. Some trails are happy ones,
Others are blue.
Big sky, look down on all the people looking up at the big sky. Everybody's pushing one another around. Big sky feels sad when you see the children scream and cry. But the big sky too big to let it get him down. Big sky too big to cry. Big sky too high to see. People like you and me. One day we'll be free. We won't care, just you see. Till that day can be, don't let it get you down. When I feel that the world's too much for me, I think of the big sky, and nothing matters much to me. Big sky, look down on all the people who think they got problems. They get depressed and they hold their heads in their hands and they cry. People lift up their hands and they look up to the big sky. But the big sky is too big to sympathize. Big sky's too occupied. Though he would like to try.